So hey, what's up guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. So in this video we are going to see what if Naruto was the reincarnation of Melodias from seven deadly sins. So yeah, this will be very interesting video, so watch till end. And if you have any idea or suggestion for the next video, you can comment down in the comment section. And before getting into video, please make sure to leave a like, share and subscribe. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right back into the video.
Chapter 1, The Mark That Answers Arc Position. Pre-Genin Mizuki Incident Theme. A child is attacked, an ancient sin wakes up. The night Naruto Uzumaki was born, everyone in Konoha believed they were witnessing the return of the Nine Tails. That was the story they survived with. That was the version written into mission reports, whispered through hospital corridors, and carved into the fear of every adult who crossed the street when Naruto walked by years later. A demon fox had attacked the village. The fourth Hokage had sealed it into his newborn son. The child had become a living prison. It was simple. It was useful. And because it was useful, no one looked deeper, but Minato Namikaze had looked deeper. In the final minutes of his life, with Kushina's chains breaking, the battlefield burning around him, and his newborn son crying beneath a sky split by chakra, Minato reached for the creature everyone called the Nine Tails. He expected rage. He expected hatred. He expected a natural disaster wearing fur and teeth, all instinct and violence, a force of destruction too old to reason with and too angry to bargain. Instead, the chakra shape in front of him recoiled. For one impossible second, the beast that had torn through Konoha looked afraid. Minato almost missed it. Pain had made the world narrow. The Reaper Death Seal was already eating into his soul. Kushina was fading beside him. Every heartbeat cost him something, but Minato was still Minato. Even dying, his mind moved faster than fear. The fox shape was wrong. Its rage was too shallow, its presence was too loud, it felt less like a living thing and more like a mask placed over something else. So Minato reached past it, not with his hands, not with chakra, with instinct, with the impossible sensitivity that had made him the greatest seal master of his generation. And the world vanished, the battlefield disappeared. Kushina's fading voice became distant, even Naruto's crying fell away. Minato found himself standing in a place no seal formula should have been able to create. It was not a cage. It was an altar. A vast black floor stretched beneath his feet like polished stone, reflecting a sky that had no stars. Tall pillars rose into darkness, carved with symbols Minato did not recognize. They were not Uzumaki, not Uchiha, not Senju, not anything from the modern age of shinobi. At the center of the altar sat a man, or the memory of one. He looked young and ancient at the same time. Small in stature, but heavy in presence, as though the world had once placed all its violence on his shoulders, and he had carried it longer than any human mind could understand. His hair was pale gold, his eyes were calm. And on his left shoulder, burned into his skin like a verdict, was the symbol of a dragon. Minato could not move. The man opened his eyes. "You are not the fox," Minato said. The man looked at him for a long moment. Then he smiled faintly, not with amusement, but with exhaustion. "No," he said. "That was only the shape your world could understand." Minato felt the Reapers pull tighten around his soul. He had seconds, maybe less. "What are you?" The man's expression changed. Not anger, not pride, regret, a mistake that learned to be sorry. The words should have meant nothing to Minato. They belonged to a history that had never been taught at the academy, never filed in the Hokage archives, never recorded in the temple scrolls beneath the village. But somewhere in the altar's silence, Minato understood enough to be afraid. This was older than chakra, older than tailed beasts, older than the shinobi world itself, and it had agreed to be here. The man stood. The air around him did not move, but Minato felt pressure settle over him, the kind of pressure that came before a storm decided whether to pass or destroy everything beneath it. "I asked the sage for one more life." The man said, "One life without memory, one life where wrath would not be my first language." "The sage," Minato whispered. A shadow moved beyond the pillars, not a threat. A witness. An old figure stood in the darkness, robed and silent, holding a staff marked with rings. His eyes carried the weight of creation and apology. Minato had seen drawings of him once. In an old shrine scroll Kushina had laughed at for being too dramatic. The sage of 6 paths. Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Minato's dying mind almost rejected what it was seeing. Almost. Hagoromo spoke without moving his lips. He will sleep until the child's life is truly threatened. Minato looked down, though Naruto was not there. Somehow he could still feel his son outside this place, tiny, crying, alive. "My son," Minato said. The ancient man with the dragon mark looked toward that distant crying. His expression softened. "Yes," he said, "your son." There was no mockery in it, no possession, no claim. That made it worse, because Minato understood then that this was not a demon trying to steal a child's body. This was a soul trying to become a child. "Will he suffer?" Minato asked. Hagoromo did not answer. The man with the dragon mark did. Yes. Minato's hands curled into fists. The altar trembled. The man did not defend himself. He simply stood there and accepted Minato's anger like he had accepted greater things before. "But not because of me alone," he said quietly. "Your world already knows how to hurt children." That sentence followed Minato back into the battlefield. Back into blood, fire, crying, and the last seconds of his life. He sealed what Konoha would fear, but he did not understand what he had sealed. No one did, not the third Hokage, not the elders, not Danzo, not even Naruto. For 12 years, Naruto Uzumaki lived beneath a lie. The village called him a monster. The adults looked at him with the leftover fear of a night they refused to remember honestly. Shopkeepers closed early when they saw him coming. Parents pulled their children away. Teachers sighed before he spoke, as though disappointment had been assigned to him before he had even failed. Naruto learned to fight loneliness the only way a child can. He became louder than it. He painted the Hokage monument because stone faces did not glare at him until after he was finished. He stole attention because attention, even angry attention, was warmer than silence. He laughed too much, bragged too hard, and said he would become Hokage so many times that people thought it was arrogance. It was not arrogance. It was a survival plan. If he became Hokage, they would have to look at him. If he became Hokage, they would have to say his name without disgust. If he became Hokage, then whatever monster they imagined inside him would finally be weaker than the man he proved himself to be. That was what Naruto believed. Until the night, Mizuki told him there was another way. The academy was quiet after sunset. Naruto sat outside on the swing, his orange jacket bright against the darkening yard. Through the windows, he could see other students being congratulated by their families. Mothers adjusting forehead protectors, fathers ruffling hair, younger siblings asking to touch the metal plates. Sasuke walked out alone, but even his loneliness looked different. People made room for Sasuke. They respected his silence. Naruto's silence made people uncomfortable. Iruka had failed him again, not because Naruto could not move. Not because he lacked stamina, not because he lacked courage, because the clone jutsu still collapsed every time he tried it. His chakra never behaved. That was the part nobody understood. Naruto had chakra, he could feel it. It moved through him like a stubborn river, heavy and hot and difficult to shape. But beneath that chakra was something else, something deeper, something that did not flow through the pathways the instructors described. Whenever Naruto tried to perform precise chakra control, it was like asking a paper fan to redirect a landslide. The result was always the same: smoke. A sad-looking clone, laughter, failure. Naruto kicked at the dirt beneath the swing. "I'm not giving up," he muttered. The words came automatically. He had said them so many times they no longer needed confidence behind them. A shadow fell across the ground. "Naruto?" He looked up. Mizuki smiled down at him. Unlike Iruka, Mizuki's smile always came easily. Too easily, maybe, but Naruto was not old enough yet to distrust kindness just because it arrived at the right time. "You still want to graduate, don't you?" Mizuki asked. Naruto stood so fast the swing jerked behind him. Of course I do. Mizuki's voice lowered. Then there's something you should know. A secret exam. Iruka can't tell you about it because he's part of the test. Naruto's eyes widened. A secret exam? Mizuki nodded, glancing toward the empty academy building as if afraid someone might hear. There's a scroll in the Hokage's residence. The scroll of sealing. If you can learn one jutsu from it by morning and show Iruka, he'll have to pass you. For a moment, the old hunger rose inside Naruto so strongly it almost hurt. A chance, not pity, not another lecture, a real chance. Why are you telling me? Naruto asked. Mizuki's smile sharpened for half a second, then softened again. Because I think you deserve to prove them wrong. That was all it took, not because Naruto was foolish, because those were the exact words he had wanted someone to say for his entire life, so he stole the scroll. He was better at that part than anyone expected. Years of pranks had taught him timing, rooftops, blind spots, and how adults looked everywhere except where a loud blonde child would actually go. He slipped through patrol gaps, dodged an Anbu rotation by accident, and ran into the forest with the scroll of sealing strapped to his back like the future itself. By the time the alarm spread through Konoha, Naruto was already deep among the trees. He landed in a clearing, breathing hard, grinning like he had outrun destiny. Okay, he said, unrolling the massive scroll. One jutsu, just one, then I graduate. His eyes moved across the forbidden techniques. Some were too complicated, some had warnings written beside them in red ink. Some made his stomach twist without knowing why. Then he found one near the beginning. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto stared at it. A clone technique, of course. The universe had a sense of humor and Naruto hated it. Still, this one was different. The standard clone jutsu created illusions. Empty images. This technique created physical copies by splitting chakra into equal portions, dangerous, forbidden, perfect. Naruto read the instructions once, then again. Then again. His mouth moved silently as he memorized the hand sign sequence. He stood, planted his feet, and pulled chakra upward. It fought him. It always did. But tonight something felt different, not easier, deeper. As if beneath the stubborn river of chakra, something had opened one eye. Naruto ignored the sensation and formed the sign. Shadow clone jutsu? Smoke burst through the clearing. For one hopeful second, Naruto smiled. Then the smoke cleared. One clone lay face down in the dirt, twitching weakly. Naruto stared. The clone lifted a hand and gave him a miserable thumbs up before vanishing. Naruto dropped to his knees. No, no, come on. He tried again and again. Each attempt left his body heavier. Sweat ran down his face. His fingers trembled. His chakra system burned with effort, but under the burn, the deeper thing pulsed once. Not chakra, not heat, something colder, something ancient. Naruto pressed a hand to his stomach. For a second, he thought he heard a voice, not words, more like the memory of a laugh that had forgotten how to be happy. Then branches snapped behind him. Naruto spun. Iruka landed in the clearing, face pale with panic and anger. Naruto? Naruto flinched. Iruka-sensei, wait, I can explain. Iruka's eyes moved to the scroll. Relief and fury fought across his face. Do you have any idea what you've done? Naruto stood quickly, hands raised. It's for the secret exam. Mizuki-sensei said if I learned a jutsu from this scroll, you'd let me graduate. The words hit Iruka harder than Naruto expected. His anger vanished. In its place came something colder. Mizuki said that. Naruto's smile faded. Yeah, he said you were part of the test. Iruka went very still. That was when the kunai came out of the trees. Iruka moved before Naruto understood what was happening. Metal flashed. Iruka shoved Naruto aside and took the strike meant for him, not a killing blow, not yet, but enough to make him stagger. Naruto hit the ground, rolled, and looked up in shock. Mizuki stood on a branch above them, a giant shuriken strapped across his back, his smile gone. Well, Mizuki said, that's disappointing. I was hoping the brat would stay useful for a little longer. Naruto stared at him. Mizuki-sensei, Iruka stepped in front of Naruto. Run, he said. Naruto did not move. His mind had not caught up yet. The world was tilting. Mizuki had smiled at him. Mizuki had said he deserved a chance. Mizuki had sounded kind. Kindness was not supposed to turn into a weapon that quickly. Mizuki sighed. Still protecting him, Iruka, even now. Iruka's jaw tightened. Naruto has nothing to do with your betrayal, Mizuki laughed. Nothing to do with it. He has everything to do with it. Naruto's chest tightened. There it was, that tone, the one adults used when they thought he was not a person, just a problem with legs. Mizuki looked down at him. Do you know why everyone hates you, Naruto? Iruka's face changed instantly. Mizuki don't. But Mizuki's eyes were bright now, cruel with the pleasure of finally saying what had been forbidden. 12 years ago, something attacked this village, something monstrous. Something that should have been destroyed. But the fourth Hokage sealed it inside a baby instead. Naruto stopped breathing. The forest seemed to pull away from him. What? He whispered. Mizuki leaned forward. That baby was you. Iruka turned desperate. Naruto, listen to me. No, Naruto said. It came out small. Mizuki kept going. They don't hate you because you're loud. They don't hate you because you fail. They hate you because every time they look at you, they see the thing that took their families from them. Naruto's hands curled into the dirt. The word monster did not need to be spoken. It had always been there. Now it had a reason. Iruka's voice shook. That is not who he is. Mizuki scoffed. You lost your parents that night, Iruka. You of all people should want him gone. Silence fell. Naruto could not look at Iruka. That was the worst part, not Mizuki's betrayal, not the secret, the silence, because for one terrible second, Naruto was afraid Iruka would agree. Instead, Iruka stepped forward. His voice was low, but it carried through the clearing. You're right. I lost my parents that night. Naruto shut his eyes. Iruka continued, and for a long time I looked at Naruto and saw only what I had lost. Naruto's throat tightened, but that was my failure, not his. Naruto opened his eyes. Iruka stood between him and Mizuki, injured but steady. Naruto is not that thing. He is a student who works harder than anyone notices. A lonely kid who acts like a fool because fools get laughed at, and being laughed at hurts less than being ignored. He is loud, stubborn, reckless, and impossible. Iruka looked back at him, then he smiled, and he is one of my precious students. Something inside Naruto cracked, not the seal, something human. A pressure built behind his eyes, hot and humiliating. He wanted to cry. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to scream at Iruka for not saying it sooner and thank him for saying it at all. Mizuki's face twisted. How touching. He reached back and gripped the giant shuriken. Iruka turned, too slow. Mizuki threw. The weapon spun through the air with a sound like a storm cutting itself open. Naruto saw everything at once. Iruka in front of him, the shuriken moving toward Iruka's back, the scroll beside him, the dark forest. The moonlight on steel, his body moved before thought. He shoved Iruka aside. The shuriken struck Naruto instead, and the world stopped. There was no pain at first, only impact, then silence. Naruto looked down. The weapon should have ended everything. It did not. It rested against his chest, stopped by black markings that had spread from beneath his jacket like ink across paper. Geometric lines crawled over his skin, up his neck, across his cheeks. They were not random. They formed patterns too precise to be natural, too old to be shinobi script. His left shoulder burned. Beneath the fabric, unseen by Iruka, the dragon sin tattoo appeared for the first time. Naruto's eyes changed. Not in color, in age. For 3 seconds, Naruto Uzumaki was not 12. For 3 seconds, the altar opened. For 3 seconds, the soul sleeping beneath his blood remembered what it meant to be attacked. Mizuki's smile died. What are you? Naruto did not answer. He raised his head. The shuriken trembled. Then the force that had struck him returned, not copied, not blocked, answered. The giant shuriken launched backward with a sound that shook leaves from the trees. Mizuki barely had time to cross his arms before his own attack slammed into him with 10 times the power he had thrown. The branch beneath him shattered. He crashed through the trees and hit the ground hard enough to carve a line through the dirt. The forest went silent. Uruka stared. Naruto stood perfectly still. Black marks pulsed across his face. His breathing was slow, too slow. When he spoke, his voice was still Naruto's, but something beneath it carried an echo from a battlefield older than the village. "Don't touch what I'm protecting." Uruka felt cold pass through him, not fear of Naruto, fear for him. Because in that instant, he understood the worst thing about what he was seeing. Naruto had not chosen it. A child had stepped in front of an attack to save his teacher, and something ancient had answered on his behalf. Then Naruto blinked. The marks receded. His knees buckled. Uruka caught him before he hit the ground. "Naruto?" Naruto gasped like he had been underwater. His hands clutched Uruka's vest. "Uruka-sensei!" "I'm here." Naruto looked around, confused, frightened now in a way he had not been seconds earlier. "Mizuki." "Down. Did I do that?" Uruka hesitated. He did not know how to answer. Naruto pressed a hand to his stomach. His expression shifted, not pain, absence. "I don't feel the fox anymore," he whispered. Uruka went still. Naruto's eyes were wide, but not with panic, with a strange, distant recognition. "I don't think it was ever a fox." Uruka said nothing. Above them, the leaves moved. An Anbu squad arrived moments later, then another. Mizuki was restrained, unconscious but alive. The scroll was recovered. The clearing was sealed off. Questions came quickly, but Uruka answered very few of them. No, Naruto had not attacked first. No, he had not lost control. No, there had been no fox chakra. That answer made the Anbu captain pause. "No fox chakra," Uruka shook his head. "I've seen chakra flares before. This wasn't that." The captain looked at Naruto, who sat wrapped in Uruka's jacket near the base of a tree, staring at his own hands. "What was it?" Uruka's face hardened. "I don't know." That was the first honest report written that night, not a conclusion, a warning. By morning, Hiruzen Sarutobi stood in his office with the scroll of sealing before him and Uruka's testimony in his hands. Uruka stood across from him, tired, bandaged, and unwilling to sit. Naruto waited outside, asleep on a bench, exhausted beyond anything the academy had ever seen from him. Hiruzen read the report twice, then a third time. "No red chakra," he said. "No, Lord Hawkage. No fox manifestation. No, black markings. Yes, reflective force." Uruka swallowed. "Yes." Hiruzen removed his pipe from his mouth but did not light it. For a long time he looked older than he had the night before. "Uruka," he said quietly, "what did you feel?" Uruka thought of Naruto's eyes, not cruel, not empty, ancient. "I felt," Uruka said slowly, "like something woke up because Naruto was hurt." Hiruzen closed his eyes. The sentence landed heavily between them. At last, he opened a drawer and removed an old sealed folder marked with Minato's personal cipher. Uruka recognized the symbol and straightened. The fourth Hokage had left very few private records. Fewer still had survived the chaos after his death. Hiruzen opened the folder. Inside was a single page. Most of it was incomplete. Minato had written it in the final hours before the sealing, perhaps before Naruto's birth, perhaps during the crisis itself. The handwriting was rushed. Some lines were smeared, but one sentence was clear. "If the seal ever responds without fox chakra, do not assume failure. Assume the second presence has awakened." Uruka stared at the words. The second presence? Hiruzen did not answer immediately because he did not have an answer, only fear. Far beneath the village, in a room that officially did not exist, Danzo Shimura received a different report. Root had watched the clearing. Root had seen the marks. Root had measured the energy pulse and compared it against every known Jinchuriki manifestation on record. None matched. No tailed beast signature, no Biju cloak, no Kyuubi resonance. Danzo stood before a wall of archived scrolls, his one visible eye narrowed. An operative knelt behind him. "The boy survived a direct strike and reflected the force at amplified output," the operative said. "Mizuki lives, but his injuries are severe enough to prevent questioning for several days." Danzo did not care about Mizuki. Traitors were common. Useful for a moment, disposable afterward. Naruto was the question. Naruto had always been the question. For 12 years, Danzo had argued that the Jinchuriki should be trained, shaped, controlled. Hiruzen had refused, hiding behind sentiment and Minato's memory. But this was not a Jinchuriki. A Jinchuriki could be conditioned. A Jinchuriki's power had rules. A Jinchuriki was a container. What Root had witnessed was not containment, it was response. Intent. Danzo turned toward the oldest section of the archive. Cross-reference the seal's signature with pre-Shinobi-era demonic records, he said. The operative hesitated for only a fraction of a second. Pre-Shinobi, Lord Danzo? Danzo's voice was flat. Emergency priority. The operative vanished. Danzo remained alone in the dark. For the first time in many years, he thought of stories older than the village, not history, stories. The kind shinobi dismissed because they could not be weaponized cleanly. Stories of wars before chakra had names. Of beings called gods by one side and demons by another. Of a warrior marked by a dragon whose wrath had ended armies and whose grief had outlived kingdoms. Danzo had never believed in legends, but he believed in power. And whatever had looked out through Naruto Uzumaki's eyes in that forest was power. Unmeasured, untrained, unowned. That last part mattered most. By sunrise, Naruto woke to the smell of hospital disinfectant and old wood. He opened his eyes slowly. For one hopeful second, he thought the night had been a dream. Then he saw Iruka sitting beside the bed. The memories returned. The scroll, Mizuki, the secret, the shuriken, the black marks. Naruto sat up too fast. "Hey, easy," Iruka said. Naruto ignored him and grabbed at his jacket collar, pulling it aside enough to look at his shoulder. Nothing, no mark, no tattoo, just skin, but he could feel it, not on the surface, underneath, like a heartbeat that belonged to someone else. Naruto's voice came out rough. "Am I a monster?" Iruka's face tightened, not with anger, with pain. He leaned forward. "No." Naruto looked at him, searching for hesitation. There was none. "You don't know that," Naruto whispered. Iruka did not lie, that mattered. Instead of saying he knew everything was fine, he said, "I know you pushed me out of the way." Naruto looked down. "I didn't think." "That's usually when people show who they are." Naruto's fingers twisted in the blanket. What if Mizuki was right? He wasn't. But what if there is something inside me? Iruka was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his pouch and pulled out a forehead protector. Naruto froze. The metal plate caught the morning light. "Iruka-sensei, you learned a forbidden jutsu badly," Iruka said, his mouth twitching faintly. "You stole a national security risk. You ignored basic instructions. You nearly gave me a heart attack," Naruto swallowed. And when someone tried to hurt me, you protected me." Iruka placed the forehead protector in Naruto's hands. "So yes, you pass." For the first time since the forest, Naruto looked like a child again, his eyes filled. He tried to grin, but it broke halfway. "I'm a ninja," Iruka smiled. "You're a ninja." Naruto clutched the forehead protector like it was proof he existed. For a while, neither of them spoke. Then Naruto whispered, "I heard something." Iruka's smile faded. "In the forest," Naruto nodded. "Not a voice exactly. More like, I don't know, like someone was sad for me." Iruka felt the hairs on his arms rise. Naruto looked toward the window. Outside, Konoha was waking up. People opened shops. Children ran through streets. Shinobi moved across rooftops like nothing had changed. But something had changed. Naruto could feel it. The village was the same. He was not. Somewhere deep inside him, behind chakra, behind memory, behind the name Naruto Uzumaki, an altar waited in the dark. And on that altar, a sleeping sin had opened its eyes. Not fully, not yet. Just enough to answer. Just enough to remember one rule older than the shinobi world. Wrath was not born from hatred. Wrath was born when something precious was threatened. That night, Naruto had protected Iruka, and the dragon's sin of wrath had protected Naruto. Above the village, morning light touched the Hokage monument. The stone faces stared forward, blind and silent. Naruto tied the forehead protector around his head with trembling hands. He did not know that Danzo had already begun searching dead languages for his name. He did not know that Hiruzen had locked Minato's final warning in a private safe. He did not know that the marks on his skin were not a seal breaking, but a promise remembering itself. He only knew that Uruka had called him precious. For now, that was enough. But far beneath the surface of his soul, the altar doors remained open, and in the darkness, the dragon's sin waited. Chapter 2, The Weight of an Older Grief Arc Position. Team 7 Formation through Land of Waves theme. Naruto begins to realize his power is not anger, it is memory. Naruto Uzumaki became a genin with a forehead protector, a terrible graduation record, and a secret that every important adult in Konoha suddenly pretended not to know. That was the first thing he noticed, not the stares. He was used to stares, not the whispers. Whispers had followed him since before he knew what they meant. What changed after the Mizuki incident was the silence. Before, people looked at Naruto like they wanted him gone. Now, a few of them looked at him like they were afraid he might answer back. It was subtle. A shopkeeper who normally yelled at him only muttered under his breath. A chunin at the mission desk avoided meeting his eyes. Two older villagers stopped talking when he passed and watched his left shoulder even though it was covered by his jacket. Naruto acted like he did not notice. He grinned wider. He laughed louder. He barged into the academy classroom on the day of team assignments with his forehead protector tied proudly around his head and shouted, "Future Hokage has arrived!" Most of the class groaned. Kiba laughed. Shikamaru muttered that it was too early for this much noise. Sakura sighed and looked away. Sasuke did not react at all. For a moment, everything felt normal. That almost made Naruto angry because part of him wanted someone to say it, to ask what had happened in the forest, to tell him whether the black marks were real, to explain why Mizuki's giant shuriken had struck him and then returned like the world itself had decided to punish the person who threw it. But nobody said anything. Uruka stood at the front of the room with a clipboard in his hands and dark circles under his eyes. When his gaze landed on Naruto, it softened for half a second. That half second kept Naruto seated. Otherwise, he might have done something stupid just to prove he was still himself. Uruka began calling out teams. Naruto barely listened until he heard the name he wanted most and the name he dreaded most. Team 7. Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto stood up so fast his chair nearly fell over. Yes, Sakura's face collapsed. No, Sasuke looked bored. Naruto pointed at him immediately. Don't get comfortable, Sasuke. I'm still gonna beat you and become Hokage. Sasuke glanced at him. Try passing a written exam first. The class laughed. Naruto shouted back. Sakura yelled at Naruto. Kiba made barking noises. For a few precious minutes, Naruto was only Naruto again. Loud, annoying, alive, but Uruka watched him carefully, because Uruka had seen the thing behind Naruto's eyes, and once you saw something that old looking out of a child's face, you never forgot it. Their Jonin-sensei was late, very late. Naruto started patient, then impatient, then creative. By the time Kakashi Hatake finally slid open the classroom door, an eraser was balanced perfectly above it. It fell. Kakashi did not move quickly. That was what unsettled Naruto. He did not dodge. He did not flinch. He did not even look up. The eraser dropped onto his silver hair, bounced once, and landed on the floor. Kakashi looked at the three genin with one visible eye. "My first impression of you," he said, "is that I hate you." Naruto laughed. Sakura panicked. Sasuke remained silent. Kakashi's eye paused on Naruto for a fraction longer than necessary. Naruto noticed. Kakashi noticed Naruto noticing. Neither of them said anything. On the roof, introductions went almost exactly the way they were supposed to. Sakura wanted Sasuke's attention. Sasuke wanted revenge. Naruto wanted recognition. At least, that was what he said. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, especially from Ikaraku. I hate waiting 3 minutes for cup ramen. My dream is to become Hokage, so everyone in the village has to respect me." He finished with a grin sharp enough to hide behind. Kakashi tilted his head. "And anything else?" Naruto blinked. "What do you mean?" Kakashi's voice stayed lazy. "Anything unusual happen recently?" The rooftop went quiet. Sakura looked between them. Sasuke's eyes narrowed slightly. Naruto felt his stomach tighten. For 1 second he was back in the forest. Mizuki above him, Uruka in danger, the shuriken spinning toward him. Black marks crawling over his skin, then Naruto grinned. "Yeah, I graduated, that's pretty unusual." Kakashi's eye curved. Fair enough, but it was not fair enough, not to Kakashi. That night, Kakashi stood in the Hokage's office while Hiruzen Sarutobi watched smoke curl from his pipe. The old man had not summoned Kakashi for a standard team briefing. Kakashi knew what those sounded like. This was different. There was a folder on the desk. Thin, sealed. Dangerous because it was thin. The worst secrets were rarely thick. Hiruzen tapped the folder once. "You are being assigned Team 7 for the usual reasons," he said. "The last loyal Uchiha, the top Kunoichi candidate in their class, the Jinchuriki." Kakashi's eye did not move. "And the unusual reasons?" Hiruzen removed his pipe from his mouth. "Naruto's status may not be what we believed." Kakashi waited. The third Hokage looked toward the window, where the village lights stretched into the night. "For 12 years, we believed Minato sealed the 9 tails into his son." "Believed?" Kakashi asked. Hiruzen looked back at him. There was an incident during the Mizuki betrayal. Naruto reflected a lethal attack without hand signs, without chakra buildup, and without any trace of Fox chakra. Kakashi was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "That sounds impossible." "Yes." "What did Minato's seal do?" "That is the problem." Hiruzen opened the folder. It did not break, it answered. Kakashi's visible eye sharpened. Hiruzen slid a page across the desk. Kakashi read Minato's final warning: "If the seal ever responds without Fox chakra, do not assume failure." Assume the second presence has awakened. For a moment, Kakashi forgot how to breathe. Minato-sensei had written those words. Minato, who never panicked. Minato, who understood seals the way most people understood doors. Kakashi lowered the page. "What is the second presence?" Hiruzen's face was grave. "We do not know." Kakashi thought of Naruto on the roof, loud smile, fast deflection, eyes too alert whenever anyone approached the subject directly. He knows something happened. "He knows enough to be afraid," Hiruzen said, "not enough to understand why." Kakashi looked back at the page, and Danzo, the room grew colder. "Danzo knows there was an event," Hiruzen said. "He does not have Minato's note. That won't stop him." "No," Hiruzen agreed, "it will not." Kakashi folded the page carefully. "What are my orders?" Hiruzen's answer came without hesitation. "Teach him, watch him, protect him if necessary." "From enemies," Hiruzen's eyes darkened. "From anyone who decides he is easier to use than understand." The bell test came the next morning. Naruto failed it first, not because he lacked courage, because he had too much of it. Kakashi tied him to a post before breakfast and ate in front of him with a casual cruelty that nearly made Sakura explode and almost made Sasuke smirk. Naruto yelled, struggled, demanded justice, declared Kakashi a cheater, then got ignored. But Kakashi watched him from the corner of his eye. The boy was exhausted, hungry, angry, and nothing happened. No black marks, no ancient pressure, no strange energy ripple that told Kakashi something important. Naruto's power did not answer embarrassment. It did not answer frustration. It did not answer ordinary anger. Good. That meant it had rules. Bad. That meant Kakashi did not know what would happen when those rules were truly triggered. The real test ended when Sakura and Sasuke fed Naruto despite Kakashi's order. Thunder cracked overhead. Kakashi appeared in front of them. Sakura froze. Sasuke prepared for punishment. Naruto kept chewing. Kakashi looked at them for a long moment, then he smiled beneath his mask. "You pass." Naruto nearly choked. "What? In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum," Kakashi said. "But those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum." The words landed strangely in Naruto's chest. Comrades. The idea felt warm, dangerous, but warm. For the first few days, Team 7 did D-rank missions. Naruto complained through all of them. He pulled weeds with the fury of a man avenging his bloodline. He carried groceries like they were enemy hostages. He chased Tora the cat with a level of personal hatred that worried Sakura. But beneath the comedy, Kakashi began building a private record. Naruto's stamina was abnormal. Not just high, wrong. He recovered from exhaustion faster than a genin should. Bruises faded overnight. Small cuts sealed too cleanly. His chakra control remained terrible, but sometimes when he moved under stress, his body chose angles no Academy Taijutsu instructor had taught him. A dodge too economical, a turn too experienced, a block that used the opponent's force with instinctive precision. Kakashi had seen talented children. He had been one. This was not talent. This was memory leaking through muscle. Then came the training exercise near the river. It was supposed to be simple. Chakra control. Tree walking and water surface practice were too advanced for their level, but Kakashi wanted to see where each student naturally failed. Sasuke failed with frustration. Sakura succeeded quickly and pretended not to be proud. Naruto failed loudly, repeatedly, and with increasing damage to the surrounding trees. "Your chakra output is too high," Sakura said after Naruto blasted himself backward for the 9th time. Naruto sat upside down against a tree trunk. "I know that. Then control it." "I'm trying." Sasuke leaned against a tree. "Try harder, dead last." Naruto jumped to his feet. "What did you say?" "Dead last." Naruto rushed him. Kakashi did not interfere immediately. He wanted to observe. Sasuke dodged Naruto's first punch, redirected the second, and drove an elbow toward Naruto's shoulder. Not lethal, not even severe, just sharp enough to humiliate. Naruto twisted aside. His jacket tore at the shoulder, and the tattoo appeared. It was there for only an instant. A black dragon coiled across Naruto's left shoulder, curved like a living symbol, its shape too clean to be an injury and too deliberate to be a birthmark. Sakura saw it first. "Naruto?" Everyone stopped. Naruto looked confused. "What?" Sakura stepped closer. "Your shoulder?" Naruto glanced down and froze. The tattoo sat on his skin like it had always belonged there. The clearing changed. No wind blew, but the temperature dropped 5 degrees. Maybe more. The river beside them went unnaturally still. Every bird within 200 meters burst from the trees at once, wings beating in frantic panic. Sakura, not thinking, reached toward the mark. The moment her fingers touched it, a pulse rolled outward, not chakra. Kakashi knew chakra signatures. This was different. This was pressure. The kind that pushed against the instincts instead of the body. Sakura gasped and pulled her hand back as if she had touched winter itself. Naruto stumbled away. "Don't," his voice cracked. Sakura looked hurt for half a second, then guilty. "I'm sorry. I didn't." "No, I—" Naruto grabbed his shoulder, staring at the mark. "I didn't know it was there." Sasuke's face had gone very still. Kakashi walked forward slowly. "Naruto," he said, voice calm, "how do you feel?" Naruto swallowed, like someone standing behind me. Sakura glanced over his shoulder. There was no one there. Kakashi kept his body loose. "Someone dangerous?" Naruto thought about it. That answer mattered. "No," he said finally. Sad. The tattoo faded. The birds did not return. No one joked after that. That night Naruto dreamed. He stood on a battlefield beneath a red sky. Not Konoha, not anywhere he knew. The ground was broken. The air smelled like rain and metal. Figures moved in the distance, some with wings of light, others with shadows where faces should have been. Above them all, 2 impossible presences pressed against the world like gods trying to crush it between their hands. Naruto looked down. His hands were not his hands, they were older, covered in blood that was not fresh, not from one battle, but from too many to count. A voice behind him said, "You always hated the silence after." Naruto turned. A girl stood there. Her face was blurred, as if memory refused to give it back. But the sadness he felt when he looked at her was so huge it almost stopped his heart. "Who are you?" Naruto asked. The girl smiled. Then the dream shattered. Naruto woke in his apartment before sunrise, breathing hard, one hand clamped over his left shoulder. The tattoo was gone. The grief remained. By the time Team 7 received the escort mission to the Land of Waves, Naruto had become quieter in the spaces between noise. He still shouted, still bragged, still demanded better missions, but Kakashi noticed the pauses. The way Naruto sometimes stared at nothing when campfires burned low. The way his expression emptied in the seconds before sleep. Not blank, not emotionless, old. That was the only word Kakashi had for it. Old. Tazuna, the bridge builder, complained immediately. Naruto hated him immediately. Sakura tried to be polite. Sasuke tried to look like he did not care. Kakashi looked lazy and read his book. But the moment they passed out of fire country, Kakashi's posture changed by 1 invisible degree. Only Naruto noticed, maybe because something in him had begun noticing battle before battle arrived. The demon brothers attacked near the puddle. Canon would have called it a test of Team 7's readiness. This time, it became a test of Naruto's restraint. The chains snapped out. Kakashi vanished beneath them in a controlled substitution. Sakura froze for one breath, then moved to protect Tazuna. Sasuke reacted smoothly, pinning one attacker's weapon and moving with clean academy precision. Naruto froze, not from fear, from recognition. The moment the killing intent touched the air, something inside him stood up. His left shoulder burned. The black mark did not appear, but he felt it pulse beneath his skin like a second heart. One of the demon brothers lunged at him. Naruto saw the attack before it finished forming. He knew where the man's weight was, knew the flaw in his stance, knew 3 ways to break his arm, 2 ways to crush his throat, and 1 way to end the fight permanently before the attacker understood he had made a mistake. Naruto's body leaned forward. Then Iruka's voice echoed in memory. That's usually when people show who they are. Naruto stopped himself. Instead of striking, he ducked badly, stumbled, and let Sasuke intercept. It looked like cowardice. Sasuke noticed. "You froze." Naruto looked at his own hand. It was shaking. "Yeah," he said. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. That was the first time Naruto let Sasuke think less of him on purpose. Kakashi saw that too. After the attack, when Tazuna's lie was exposed and the mission became more dangerous, Team 7 had the choice to turn back. Naruto slammed a kunai into his own hand and declared he would never back down again. It was dramatic. It was reckless. It was exactly the kind of thing Naruto would do. But when the cut healed faster than it should have, Kakashi quietly looked away before anyone else noticed. The land of waves greeted them with mist. Not ordinary mist, the kind that made every shape uncertain, the kind that turned distance into rumor. Naruto hated it immediately. Something about the fog felt too much like his dreams. A world where enemies were outlines and grief waited behind every tree. Then Zabuza Mamachi arrived. His killing intent rolled across the water like cold iron. Sakura nearly buckled. Tazuna stopped breathing. Sasuke's hands trembled despite himself. Naruto stood very still. For the first time since becoming a genin, he saw someone who smelled like death by choice. Zabuza stood on his sword and looked down at them with lazy menace. "Kakashi of the Sharingan," he said. "Hand over the bridge builder." Kakashi moved in front of his students. "Formation, protect Tazuna." Sakura obeyed. Sasuke forced himself into position. Naruto did not move immediately. Because Zabuza's killing intent had reached him, and the thing inside Naruto had answered with something worse. Not killing intent, patience. That was what frightened Kakashi when he glanced back. Naruto did not look angry. He looked tired, as if Zabuza was not an enemy. Just another soldier on another battlefield in a life Naruto had not lived yet somehow remembered. The fight began. Zabuza's hidden mist jutsu swallowed the clearing. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan. The 2 Jonin moved beyond what the genin could properly follow. Water clones, feints, steel. Killing intent. Naruto gripped a kunai so tightly his knuckles whitened. His shoulder burned. He could feel every hostile movement in the mist as pressure against his skin. Not perfectly, not like sensory chakra. More like the air itself was warning him where violence had decided to exist. When Zabuza trapped Kakashi in the water prison, the world narrowed. Sasuke planned. Naruto improvised. Together they freed Kakashi. That part remained. But when Naruto disguised his shadow Shuriken tactic and rushed forward, Zabuza's water clone struck him hard enough to send him across the ground. The impact should have broken something. Instead, Naruto rolled, coughed, and felt the black markings begin to crawl up his arm. He grabbed his sleeve and forced them down. No, not now, not for this. That was the first conscious act of restraint Naruto ever made with Icar. It hurt, not physically, emotionally, like swallowing a scream that did not belong entirely to him. Kakashi ended the fight with the water dragon collision and the copied technique that turned Zabuza's momentum against him. Then Haku arrived in Hunter Nin disguise and took Zabuza away. Naruto shouted about stolen victory. Sasuke looked suspicious. Kakashi collapsed. Everything moved forward. But hidden among the trees, Zabuza woke earlier than Haku expected. He sat up slowly, one hand on his bandaged neck. Haku knelt beside him. "You should rest." Zabuza ignored him. "That blonde kid." Haku said nothing. Zabuza's eyes narrowed beneath the bandages. "I felt killing intent from missing Nin, hunter squads, Anbu, war veterans, and men who enjoyed their work too much." He looked toward the direction team 7 had gone. "That wasn't killing intent." Haku waited. Zabuza's voice lowered. "It was what comes after killing intent burns out." At Tezuna's house, training began. Tree climbing became the battlefield. Sakura mastered it quickly. Sasuke improved through obsession. Naruto improved through volume. He made dozens of attempts, failed most of them, and kept going until even Sasuke stopped mocking him. But Naruto's real training happened at night, not with chakra, with stillness. He sat outside while the others slept, staring at the dark water beyond the unfinished bridge. Kakashi found him there on the 3rd night. "You should sleep." Naruto did not look back. "I do." "Nightmares?" Naruto was quiet, then he said, "Memories." Kakashi sat beside him. "Yours?" Naruto's fingers tightened around the grass. "I don't know." The answer was honest enough that Kakashi did not push. After a while, Naruto asked, "Kakashi-sensei, if someone has something dangerous inside them, does that make them dangerous?" "Yes," Kakashi said. Naruto flinched. Kakashi continued, "But being dangerous is not the same as being evil." Naruto looked at him. Kakashi's visible eye stayed on the water. "A sword is dangerous. A fire is dangerous. A promise can be dangerous if the person making it is strong enough." Naruto frowned. "That doesn't make me feel better." "It wasn't supposed to." Naruto stared. Kakashi shrugged. "Comforting lies are easy. You have something dangerous in you. Maybe more dangerous than anyone understands. So your job is not to pretend it isn't there." "What is my job?" "To decide what it protects." Naruto looked down at his left shoulder. Under the jacket, the tattoo pulsed once, not painfully, almost like agreement. The bridge battle came with morning mist. Gato's men had moved. Zabuza had returned. Haku stood beside him, masked and silent. Kakashi faced Zabuza. Sasuke and Naruto faced Haku. Sakura protected Tezuna. The mirror dome rose around Naruto and Sasuke like a frozen cage. Haku moved between reflections faster than either genin could track. Needles struck. Sasuke adapted. Naruto endured. At first he fought like Naruto, reckless charges, angry shouts, wild punches. Then a needle struck his shoulder directly over the hidden tattoo. The world slowed. Naruto stopped moving. Sasuke, bleeding from several shallow wounds, snapped. "What are you doing?" Naruto looked at the mirrors. His breathing changed. Not heavier, calmer. "Naruto?" Naruto sat down, cross-legged, in the center of the ice prison. Sasuke stared at him like he had lost his mind. "What are you doing?" Naruto's voice was quiet. "Get behind me." "Are you insane?" "Probably," Naruto said. "Get behind me anyway." Something in his tone made Sasuke move. Haku paused inside the mirrors. For the first time, uncertainty touched his voice. "You are surrendering?" Naruto looked at the masked boy. "No." Haku threw another wave of needles. Naruto did not dodge. They hit shoulders, arms, legs, nothing lethal. Haku was too precise for that, but every impact fed the thing beneath Naruto's skin. Black geometric markings spread from his left shoulder down his arm, then across his neck. The ice mirrors reflected them 100 times, turning the prison into a chamber of dark symbols. Sasuke felt the air change. Naruto's eyes remained blue. That was somehow worse. He was still there. Still Naruto. but something ancient was standing with him. Haku attacked again. The needles struck. The mirrors trembled. Naruto exhaled. Full counter was not a technique he activated. It was a law that answered harm. The reflected force did not explode outward all at once. Not yet. It gathered around him like pressure building behind a dam. Haku felt it. Every instinct he had, every skill Zabuza had trained into him, screamed one thing: stop attacking. But Haku had a mission, so he moved faster. Needles rained from every direction. Naruto took them. Sasuke shouted for him to stop. Naruto did not stop, because for the first time he understood the rule. He could not throw this power at someone. He could only receive. He could only let himself be hurt and decide what came back. That was horrifying. That was also useful. The ice mirrors began to crack, not from heat, from reflected pressure saturating the inside of the dome. Haku landed in one mirror, one hand against the surface, breathing hard. "What are you?" Naruto's answer was almost too soft to hear. "I don't know." The prison cracked again. This time, Haku chose. He dropped the jutsu. The mirrors shattered into harmless fragments that fell like snow around them. Outside, Zabuza and Kakashi both turned. Naruto remained seated in the middle of the bridge, bleeding from dozens of small wounds, black marks fading slowly from his skin. Haku stood across from him, shaken, not defeated, shaken. Sasuke stared at Naruto. Sakura stared from behind Tazuna. Even Kakashi forgot Zabuza for half a second. Zabuza did not. He looked at Naruto, really looked. The mist thinned around the boy. For a moment, Zabuza saw not a genin but a battlefield with a human face. He saw patience. He saw exhaustion. He saw a creature that did not need to prove it could kill him. And because Zabuza Mamachi had survived by reading danger honestly, he did something no one expected. He lowered his sword. Kakashi's kunai remained raised. Zabuza, the demon of the mist, stared at Naruto. "I know monsters," Zabuza said. Naruto flinched. Zabuza noticed. Then he said, "That kid isn't one." The bridge went silent. Haku turned toward him. "Zabuza-sama." Zabuza's expression twisted beneath the bandages. "He's worse for anyone stupid enough to make him become one." Then Gato arrived. The little tyrant came with hired thugs, arrogance, and the fatal confidence of a man who had mistaken money for power. He mocked Zabuza. He mocked Haku. He mocked shinobi loyalty. He called them tools. That word changed the bridge more than any jutsu. Tools. Naruto looked at Haku. Haku looked at Zabuza. Zabuza looked at the army behind Gato and laughed without humor. The battle that followed was not clean. But it was YouTube-friendly in the way legends are YouTube-friendly, more impact than gore, more emotion than brutality. Zabuza charged through Gato's men like a ghost refusing to die. Kakashi protected Team 7. Sakura guarded Tazuna. Sasuke, shaken but functional, fought with sharper precision than before. Naruto stood once, only once. A group of Gato's men rushed toward the civilians behind them. Naruto moved between them. "Move," one man barked. Naruto's shoulder pulsed. No, they attacked. He let the first strike hit his forearm. Full counter answered with controlled force, sending the attacker flying backward into his own group hard enough to scatter them without ending lives. Naruto did not chase. He did not smile. He simply stood there, a 12-year-old boy with fading black marks on his skin. And for some reason, an entire gang of grown men decided the bridge builder was not worth it. By the end, Gato's control shattered. The people of Wave arrived. Zabuza fell beside Haku. This time, Naruto did not scream at him about tools. He walked over quietly. Haku was alive, barely conscious, because Naruto's earlier restraint had changed the shape of the battle. Zabuza was wounded, exhausted, but not gone. The demon of the mist looked up at the blond boy. "You held back." Zabuza said. Naruto sat beside him. So did Haku. Zabuza gave a rough laugh. "Kid, you have no idea what holding back means yet." Naruto looked toward the water. "No," he said, "but I think something inside me does." Zabuza was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Listen to it only when it's tired, not when it's angry." Naruto turned. "What?" Zabuza closed his eyes. "Angry things lie, tired things tell the truth." It was the strangest advice Naruto had ever received. Years later, he would remember it, for now he only nodded. Team 7 returned to Konoha changed, not loudly. There were no victory parades, no dramatic declarations. But Sakura no longer looked at Naruto as only an annoyance. Sasuke no longer dismissed him as dead last. Kakashi no longer pretended his assignment was ordinary. And Naruto no longer believed the thing inside him was simply a monster waiting to escape. That was not comforting. It was worse in some ways. A monster was simple. A monster could be hated. A monster could be defeated. But a memory, a grief, a promise, those things could live inside you forever. On the night they returned, Naruto fell asleep in his apartment without eating dinner. He dreamed of the altar again. This time he saw the man more clearly, small, blond, dragon-marked, sitting alone beneath a black sky. Naruto stood across from him. The man did not look up. "Are you the fox?" Naruto asked. The man smiled faintly. "No. Are you a demon?" "Yes." Naruto swallowed. "Am I?" The man finally looked at him. His eyes were green and impossibly sad. "You are Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto wanted to be relieved. Instead, he asked, "Then why do I remember things that never happened to me?" The man's expression softened. "Because grief is heavier than death. Sometimes it falls through lives." Naruto did not understand, but he felt the truth of it. When he woke, there were tears on his face. He wiped them away angrily, even though no one was there to see. Far beneath Konoha, Danzo received the completed route analysis from the Land of Waves observation network. His operative knelt before him. The boy displayed non-chakra energy again. Reflective capability confirmed. Defensive trigger appears tied to received harm. Emotional state influences output. No evidence of Fox chakra. Danzo took the report. And the historical cross-reference, the operative hesitated. Danzo looked up. "Speak." "We found one match." The room felt colder. The operative continued. "Pre-Shinobi demonic records, fragmented, possibly mythological. The energy pattern corresponds to a being named in old translation as the Dragon Sin." Danzo's visible eye narrowed. Classification. The operative read from the scroll. Army-level catastrophic entity. Last documented in a conflict predating chakra theory. Associated phrase, the moment of absolute wrath. Danzo turned toward the wall of old maps. Konoha sat at the center of one, bright, fragile, built on secrets pretending to be foundations. "The Nine Tails was a natural disaster," Danzo said quietly. "This is something with intent." The operative said nothing. Danzo closed the report. "Continue observation. Prepare containment theories. No action yet." "No action, sir?" Danzo looked toward the ceiling as if he could see through stone, through streets, through apartment walls to the sleeping boy above. "Not until we know whether the weapon remembers it is a weapon." Above ground, Naruto slept. The Dragon Sin tattoo rested unseen beneath his skin. And somewhere in the deep altar of his soul, Meliodas watched the boy he had become, not with control, not with hunger, with guilt. Because Naruto had begun to remember the old war. And memory, once awakened, never returned quietly to sleep. Chapter 3. The Sin has no rank arc position. Chunin exams Forest of Death through Finals theme. The Shinobi world tries to measure Naruto by rank. The Dragon Sin refuses to fit inside the system. The Chunin exams were designed to measure children. That was the first lie. On paper, they tested teamwork, survival, combat ability, and decision-making under pressure. The villages called it diplomacy, a controlled battlefield, a way for young shinobi to prove their worth before clients, nobles, and rival nations. But Kakashi knew better. The Chunin exams were a market. Every village sent its promising weapons and dressed them like students. Every clan watched from the stands and pretended not to compare bloodlines. Every political figure measured the next generation with the cold eyes of someone deciding which child might become useful, dangerous, or disposable. Naruto, of course, heard none of that. He stood outside the exam registration room with both fists raised and shouted, "I'm going to become Chunin so fast they'll have to make me Hokage early." Sakura covered her face. "Naruto, please lower your voice. Sasuke looked ahead, expression flat. Let him embarrass himself. It saves time. Naruto spun toward him. What was that, pretty boy? Sasuke's eyes shifted lazily toward him. You heard me. Naruto pointed at Sasuke with one hand and jabbed his thumb toward himself with the other. This exam is where I finally prove I'm better than you. Sasuke said nothing for a second. Then quietly he answered, Maybe. Naruto froze. Sakura blinked. That was not how Sasuke usually responded before the land of waves. Sasuke would have dismissed him instantly, called him dead last, looked away like Naruto was not worth the breath. But since the bridge, something had changed. Sasuke still acted superior. He still spoke like everyone around him was too slow. But sometimes Naruto caught him watching, not mockingly, carefully, as if Sasuke had seen a crack in the world and Naruto was standing in the middle of it. Naruto hated it. He wanted respect. He had wanted it his whole life. But this was different. This felt like being studied. And deep beneath his jacket, the Dragon Sin tattoo pulsed once as if it agreed. The first stage of the Chunin exams nearly broke Naruto for the stupidest possible reason. Not poison, not enemy ambush, not a forbidden technique, a written test. He stared at the paper in front of him like it had personally insulted his ancestors. The questions made no sense. Not because he was stupid, despite what half the academy had always believed, but because the test was clearly built around information he did not have, trajectory calculations. Signal code analysis, mission route probability, advanced cipher logic. Naruto read the first question 3 times and understood less each time. Around him, Genin began cheating, carefully, professionally. A glance here. A bug there. A Byakugan activation hidden behind calm breathing. Tiny movements of wire, mirrors, insects, sand, and sound. Naruto noticed almost none of it. He was too busy panicking. His pencil hovered over the page, empty, just like his head. Then something strange happened. Not a voice, not possession. A memory. For 1 second, the exam hall faded, and Naruto saw a table under candlelight. Maps spread across it. Armies marked in red and silver. A short blond man sitting with his arms crossed while others argued strategy around him. He was bored, not because he did not understand the plans, because he understood them too quickly. The memory vanished. Naruto looked at his paper again. The questions were still impossible, but his panic changed shape. He did not suddenly know the answers. Meliodas had not been a shinobi. Ancient war memories did not teach Naruto modern intelligence theory, but they did teach him something else. Tests were not always about answers. Sometimes they were about what a commander wanted to learn by watching people fail. Naruto slowly lowered his pencil. He glanced around. Everyone was cheating. The proctors knew. Of course they knew. Naruto leaned back. A tiny grin spread across his face. So that's it, he muttered. Sakura looked at him from across the room with pure disbelief, as if the idea that Naruto had understood something before her had damaged reality. Naruto did not answer the questions. He did not cheat either. He waited. When Ibiki revealed the final question and the threat of permanent failure, the room filled with fear. One by one, teams gave up. Naruto's hand trembled. He had failed before. Many times, but this failure felt different. Permanent, official. The kind of failure that would let the whole village point and say, see, we always knew. His hand rose. Sakura's breath caught. Sasuke's eyes sharpened. For 1 terrible second, Naruto looked ready to quit. Then his fingers curled into a fist. He slammed it onto the desk. I don't care if I stay Genin forever, he shouted. I'm still gonna become Hokage, so bring your stupid final question. Silence. Then Ibiki smiled. Naruto passed, not because he knew the answers, because when the system tried to scare him into surrender, he refused to let fear choose for him. That was the first time several examiners wrote Naruto's name down for reasons that had nothing to do with the 9 tails, or what they still thought was the 9 tails. The second stage began at the Forest of Death. Anko Mitarashi explained the rules with a grin sharp enough to make half the genin reconsider their careers. 2 scrolls, 5 days, survival allowed, killing possible, no guarantees. Naruto listened with wide eyes, then he grinned. This is way better than the written test. Sakura stared at him. That is not the correct reaction. Sasuke looked toward the forest. Something in his body had changed the moment they arrived. His shoulders were tense. His eyes tracked movement in the trees. He felt danger here and welcomed it. Naruto felt danger too, but his reaction was different. The forest did not feel like a test. It felt like a memory trying to happen again. The trees were too tall. The shadows too dense. Every sound seemed delayed, as if the forest was listening before deciding whether to give the noise back. Team 7 entered with the Heaven Scroll. For the first few hours, Naruto was exactly as expected. Loud, hungry, overconfident, he fell for one trap, triggered another by accident, and nearly argued with a giant centipede because it had looked at him funny. Sakura's nerves frayed. Sasuke's patience thinned. Then the temperature dropped. Naruto stopped walking. Sasuke noticed immediately. What? Naruto looked into the trees. We're being watched. Sakura swallowed. We've been watched since we came in. No, Naruto said quietly, not like this. A killing intent rolled through the forest. Heavy, wet, amused, Sasuke stiffened. Sakura's face went pale. Naruto's left shoulder burned. A woman from the grass team stepped into view, smiling too widely. Her tongue moved across her lips in a way that made Naruto's stomach twist, not because she looked frightening, because something inside him recognized a predator wearing a face. Sasuke attacked first, fast, clean, aggressive. The grass ninja avoided him effortlessly. Sakura threw kunai, useless. Naruto moved next, but the grass ninja's eyes shifted toward him with sudden interest. "Oh," she said. "And what are you?" Naruto hated that question. It had followed him since the forest with Mizuki. He rushed her harder. She vanished. A blow struck Naruto in the stomach and launched him through a tree trunk. Sakura screamed his name. Sasuke's eyes widened. Naruto hit the ground, rolled, and coughed. Pain spread through him, real pain. The tattoo on his left shoulder pulsed. Black lines began crawling beneath his collar. No, Naruto forced himself up. He did not understand everything yet, but he understood this much. The thing inside him responded to harm. If he gave it every injury, it would answer every injury, and he did not know what the answer would do to his teammates. The grass ninja tilted her head. Interesting. You're holding something back. Naruto spat dirt. So are you. The smile widened. Then the skin of the grass ninja's face split away. Sakura made a sound of horror. Sasuke froze. Orochimaru revealed himself like a nightmare stepping out of costume. His presence filled the clearing. This was not Zabuza. Zabuza had been death by profession. Orochimaru was curiosity without mercy. He looked at Sasuke first, hungry and delighted. Then he looked at Naruto again, and his expression changed, only slightly. But Naruto saw it. Orochimaru was not afraid, not yet, but he had found something he did not understand, and that excited him more than fear ever could. Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru said softly, "You are everything I expected." His golden eyes slid toward Naruto. "And you are not." The fight collapsed into chaos. Orochimaru summoned a massive snake. The creature crashed through the forest, scales tearing bark from trees, mouth wide enough to swallow a house. Sakura could barely move. Sasuke's body shook. Naruto stared at the snake. The snake stared back. For one strange second, the world held still. Then the serpent recoiled, not dramatically, not because Naruto had released killing intent, because old creatures know old things. The snake's instincts reached deeper than training, deeper than summoning contracts. Somewhere in the blood memory of scaled things, something recognized the pressure resting behind Naruto's skin. The snake turned its head away. Orochimaru noticed. His eyes narrowed. Naruto did not waste the moment. He grabbed Sakura and threw himself aside as the snake's tail smashed through the place they had been standing. Sasuke recovered enough to move. Then Orochimaru struck, not at Naruto, at Sasuke. The curse mark gathered at Orochimaru's mouth like living darkness. Naruto's body moved before thought. He stepped between them. The curse mark touched his forearm and stopped. The forest went silent. The dragon sin tattoo blazed black beneath Naruto's sleeve. This time the marks did not crawl wildly, they formed precise. Geometric. Controlled. The curse mark hissed against Naruto's skin like oil dropped onto flame. Orochimaru's smile vanished. Inside that touch, two ancient powers met. The curse mark was not simple chakra. It carried Orochimaru's will, natural energy corruption, hunger, and the promise of transformation through surrender. It reached for Naruto expecting a victim. It found an altar for 1 second. Naruto saw another place. Black stone. A sealed sky. A blond man standing before a throne made from bones and shadow. A voice saying, "You were born to inherit my power." And the blond man answering, "No." Naruto gasped. The curse mark recoiled from his skin, not destroyed, rejected. Orochimaru pulled back slowly. His eyes were no longer amused. Sasuke stared at Naruto's arm. Sakura stared too. The massive snake behind Orochimaru lowered its head and refused to come closer. Orochimaru looked at Naruto for a long moment. Then he laughed once, softly, not happily, carefully. "I'll be careful," he said. That was all. Then he vanished. He did not take their scroll. He did not mark Sasuke. He left. And somehow that was more frightening than if he had stayed. Sasuke grabbed Naruto by the collar almost immediately. "What did you do?" Naruto shoved him off. "I don't know. That thing was meant for me." "I noticed. Why did it stop?" Naruto looked at his forearm. There was no mark, no burn, only a cold ache under the skin. "I said I don't know." Sasuke's eyes sharpened. "You always say that." Naruto's temper flared. "Because it's true." The forest seemed to lean in around them. Sakura stepped between them. "Enough, both of you." Her voice shook, but she held it. "We are in the middle of the forest of death. Orochimaru just attacked us." Whatever Naruto did, it saved Sasuke. Sasuke looked away. Naruto looked down. No one apologized. But for the rest of the day, Sasuke did not call him dead last. That night, while Sakura slept in shifts and Sasuke pretended to sleep, Naruto sat against a tree with his knees drawn up. He could still feel the curse mark touching his skin. Not pain, recognition. The thing inside him hated chains, not disliked, hated. A hatred so old and complete it made Naruto's throat tighten. For the first time, he wondered if the presence inside him had once been trapped too. Team 7 survived the forest differently after that. Not by hiding, not by hunting, by becoming something everyone avoided. It started with the Rain Team. 3 genin tried to ambush them near a ravine. Sasuke prepared to fight. Sakura reached for kunai. Naruto stepped forward and made a hand sign. Shadow clone jutsu. Smoke filled the trees. 4 clones appeared, not dozens, just 4. Sasuke blinked. Sakura looked confused. Naruto usually made too many. This time he made exactly the number he wanted. Then the Dragon Sin tattoo pulsed. Black energy moved from Naruto into each clone like ink pouring through invisible veins. The clones changed, not physically, but their presence deepened. Each one opened its eyes with a calm that did not belong to ordinary shadow clones. The Rain Genin stopped moving. One of them whispered, "What is that?" Naruto did not know the name yet, not fully. But the memory was there. A broken sword, copies that carried power. A captain who could split himself across the battlefield and still smile like the enemy had made the wrong joke. Lost Vein. That name surfaced in Naruto's mind like a bubble rising through dark water. The clones attacked, not with wild punches, with terrifying efficiency. One clone disarmed the first Rain Ninja. Another swept the second's legs and pinned him without breaking anything. The third caught a thrown kunai barehanded, winced, then grinned as the force reflected back into the attacker's wrist just hard enough to numb it. The fourth stood beside Naruto, watching. The fight ended in 6 seconds. Sakura stared. Sasuke stared harder. Naruto breathed heavily. The clones vanished. When they disappeared, the exhaustion hit him like a hammer. He dropped to one knee. Sakura rushed forward. "Naruto?" "I'm okay," he said, though he clearly was not. Sasuke's expression was unreadable. That wasn't normal shadow clone chakra distribution. Naruto forced a grin. "What, jealous?" Sasuke did not bite. "How much power did each clone have?" Naruto's grin faded. He looked at the place where the clones had stood. Too much. That became the new rule. Lost Vein clones were not spam. They were not Naruto's usual army tactic. Shadow clones split chakra. Lost Vein clones split ichor. That meant each one carried a piece of the Dragon Sin's ancient pressure. Useful, dangerous, expensive in a way chakra exhaustion did not explain. After using them, Naruto felt less tired in his body and more hollow in his heart, like each clone had walked away with a little warmth and returned it slightly colder. By the time Team 7 reached the tower, word had already spread through the forest. The blonde from Konoha was not worth attacking, not because he was loud, not because he was lucky, because a grass Sannin had walked away from him, because his clones felt wrong, because one team had attacked him and then politely surrendered their scroll without being asked. Team 7 arrived with both scrolls. Naruto tried to act like this was inevitable. Sakura actually laughed. Sasuke watched the other teams watching Naruto. And somewhere in the tower's upper levels, Danzo's observers sent another report. The preliminaries began soon after. Too many teams had passed. The exam needed thinning. Naruto hated the word thinning like they were weeds, like the village had not just sent children into a death forest and decided too many came back breathing. Kakashi stood beside Team 7, visible eye unreadable. Anko watched Naruto from across the room with sharper interest than she showed most genin. Orochimaru had attacked. Sasuke had no curse mark. That alone had changed the shape of the exam. When Naruto's match was announced, he stepped forward expecting Kiba. Instead, he faced a sound genin left behind by Orochimaru's team, Dasu Kinuta. The bandaged boy tilted his head. I wonder what sound does to a demon. Naruto's smile vanished. Try it. Kakashi's posture shifted. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Sakura whispered, Naruto? Dasu attacked with sound waves amplified through his arm device. Naruto took the first hit badly. Sound did not behave like a standard projectile. It slipped past blocking angles and rattled his bones from the inside. Full counter did not answer cleanly because the attack was not a simple impact. Naruto staggered. Dasu smiled. So you can bleed. Naruto touched his ear. His fingers came away red. The tattoo pulsed. Naruto inhaled slowly. No rage, not yet. He charged. Dasu released another sound blast. This time Naruto let it hit his shoulder, not his head, not his chest, his shoulder. The dragon's sin mark caught the vibration like a drumskin catching thunder. Full counter answered partially, not perfectly, but enough. The reflected sound slammed into Dasu's own device, cracking it down the side. Dasu jumped back, startled. Naruto appeared in front of him with two normal shadow clones, no ichor split, just teamwork and momentum. One clone ducked, one pushed. The real Naruto punched Dasu straight in the stomach and sent him skidding across the floor. Not a killing blow, not even close, but decisive. The proctor raised a hand. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. For once, Naruto did not cheer immediately. He looked down at his shoulder, then at Dasu, then at the stands. Several Jonin were watching him now with expressions they could not hide fast enough. The system had seen him, and it did not know where to place him. The month before the finals became a strange kind of pressure cooker. Kakashi trained Sasuke. That hurt more than Naruto wanted to admit. He understood why. Sasuke had advanced eyes, elite potential, and a likely match against dangerous opponents. Still, understanding did not make abandonment feel better. In another life, Naruto might have trained with Jiraiya here. In this one, Hiruzen made a different decision. He sent Naruto to a sealed training ground beneath an old Uzumaki shrine at the edge of Konoha. Iruka came with him first. Kakashi visited when he could, but the true instructor was not a person. It was the altar in Naruto's dreams. Every night, Naruto slept in the shrine. Every night, he stood before Meliodas. The man with the dragon mark never taught him like a sensei. He did not explain hand signs. He did not praise effort. He asked questions Naruto hated. What are you angry at? The village, Naruto said the first night. Too easy, Mizuki. Too small, Sasuke. Meliodas gave him a look. Naruto scowled. Fine, everything. Meliodas nodded once. Closer. Naruto trained to hold ichor without letting it flood him. He failed constantly. Sometimes the black marks spread too quickly and shattered the stone beneath his feet. Sometimes nothing happened at all. Sometimes he woke up crying from memories that were not his and refused to tell Iruka why. The hardest lesson was stillness. Sage chakra was mentioned only once by Hiruzen as something Jiraiya might someday explain, but the altar responded to the concept immediately. Nature energy brushed against ichor like dry grass near lightning, powerful, unstable, not for now. Naruto learned one thing clearly. Wrath could amplify ichor, but fake anger did nothing. All his shouting, all his bluster, all his loud declarations were useless to the dragon's sin. The power answered genuine grief, the kind he tried never to show. That frightened him more than Orochimaru. The finals came with a stadium full of eyes. Naruto stood in the arena and felt the weight of the village above him. Civilians, shinobi, clan heads, foreign dignitaries, Kage, Danzo in the shadows. Everyone watching children fight and calling it tradition. Naruto's first match passed quickly in this timeline. He won with a mixture of clones, stubbornness, and one carefully controlled full counter that surprised his opponent without badly injuring him. Then came Gaara. The moment Gaara stepped into the arena, Naruto understood, not intellectually. Not through briefing, through loneliness. Gaara carried his isolation like armor. It was in his eyes, in the stiffness of his movements, in the way the sand hovered around him like a parent that had never learned tenderness. Naruto looked at him and felt the altar go silent. The crowd murmured. Some were excited, some afraid. Gaara stared at Naruto. "You smell like blood," Gaara said. Naruto looked back. "You smell like sleep you never got." For the first time, Gaara's expression changed, only slightly, but enough. The match began. Gaara attacked immediately. Sand surged across the arena. Naruto dodged the first wave, jumped over the second, and used clones to scatter Gaara's focus. It did not work for long. The sand crushed 3 clones. A fourth barely escaped. Naruto landed near the wall and looked at Gaara carefully. He could beat him. That was the first unsettling truth. Not easily. Not without risk. But Naruto knew, somewhere deep and cold, that if he let the dragon's sin rise fully, Gaara's defense would not hold. The second truth was worse. Gaara knew it too, not consciously. But the beast inside Gaara felt Naruto and screamed against its cage. Sand erupted. A partial transformation began. The crowd panicked. Jonin moved. Cage guards tensed. Naruto raised one hand. "Wait." Nobody knew why they listened. Maybe because his voice did not sound like a genin's voice in that moment. Gaara roared and attacked. Naruto did not strike back. He let the sand hit him. Once, twice, again. The impacts were brutal but controlled by Naruto's movement. He angled his body to avoid lethal compression. He rolled with force when he could. He took the attacks when he had to. Every hit fed full counter. The dragon's sin tattoo burned beneath his torn jacket. Black marks crawled over his left arm. The crowd began shouting. Sakura stood with both hands against the railing. "Naruto, stop!" Sasuke said nothing. His face had gone pale, because he understood before most people did. Naruto was not losing. He was charging. Gaara attacked harder. Sand claws, sand bullets. A half-formed monstrous arm. Naruto took more than he should have. Blood ran from his lip. His breathing grew rough, but his eyes stayed clear. Gaara screamed, "Why won't you fight me?" Naruto wiped his mouth. "Because if I fight you the way you want, one of us doesn't walk away." Gaara's sand froze for half a second. Naruto stepped forward. "There's a version of this that doesn't end with you dead." Gaara's face twisted. "Liar!" The partial Shukaku form surged. The arena floor cracked. That was when Naruto released the counter, not all of it. That was the most important part. A full release might have shattered the arena and everyone near it. Instead, Naruto shaped the reflected force inward. The black markings flared across his arm. He slammed his palm into the ground. The stored impact rippled through the arena floor, traveled beneath Gaara's sand, and struck the unstable transformation at its foundation. Not Gaara, the transformation. The Shukaku chakra shell cracked. Sand exploded outward in a harmless storm. The crowd shielded their faces. When the dust cleared, Gaara stood in a crater, human again, breathing hard, unmarked, alive. Naruto stood across from him, bleeding from 17 wounds, one sleeve torn away, the dragon sin tattoo visible on his shoulder for all the stadium to see. Silence fell. Gaara stared at him. "Why?" he whispered. Naruto's answer was quiet. "Because I know what it feels like when everyone decides what you are before you get to choose." Gaara's lips parted. No words came. Naruto took one step closer. The sand did not attack. "I'm not saying we're the same," Naruto said. "I'm saying I saw your eyes and knew the room you live in." Gaara trembled. The proctor hesitated, then raised his hand. "Winner, use Uzumaki Naruto." The stadium erupted, but the noise reached Naruto from very far away. He looked up into the stands. For 1 second he found Danzo's eye. Danzo did not clap, he only watched. Later, in the shadowed corridor beneath the stadium, Danzo spoke to a root aide. "The boy is not controllable." The aide kept his head bowed. "Should containment begin?" Danzo looked through the corridor opening toward the arena, where medics approached. Naruto and Gaara remained standing in the crater like someone whose entire life had just been interrupted. "What kind of cage would you build?" Danzo asked. "For something that reflects the bars." The aide had no answer. Danzo's voice lowered. "Prepare a containment protocol." "Yes, Lord Danzo, what parameters?" Danzo looked back toward Naruto. For the first time in years, his answer carried something close to honesty. "Pray we never need it." That night, Naruto sat alone on the roof of the hospital. He had bandages around his ribs, a healing seal on one shoulder, and strict orders not to move. He had ignored all of them. Gaara found him there, not by accident. The sand carried him silently to the edge of the roof. Naruto did not turn around. "You're bad at sneaking when your sand is worried," he said. Gaara stared at him. "My sand is not worried." Naruto glanced back. A small curl of sand hovered near Gaara's injured arm like it wanted to support him. "Sure." Gaara was silent for a long time, then he asked, "Did you want to kill me?" Naruto looked at the moon. A lie would have been easier. "No." Gaara's eyes narrowed. "Not once." Naruto's fingers tightened around the roof edge. For a second, he saw a different battlefield, different enemies, a wrath so complete it had burned armies into memory. "Something inside me knew how," Naruto said. "That's not the same as wanting to." Gaara absorbed that, then he said, "I don't know how to be anything else." Naruto nodded slowly. "Yeah." Gaara looked at him. "That is not advice." "I know, you are bad at this." Naruto snorted. "Probably." A small, almost invisible shift happened in Gaara's expression. Not a smile, not yet, but something less locked than before. Naruto looked back at the village lights. "I think we start by not letting them be right about us." Gaara followed his gaze. Below them, Konoha glowed, messy, afraid, alive. Neither boy spoke after that. They did not need to. The Chunin exams had tried to rank Naruto Uzumaki, Genin, Chunin candidate, Jinchuriki, weapon, threat, but in the forest, Orochimaru had stepped back. In the tower, his clones had carried fragments of an older power. In the arena, Gaara had survived because Naruto chose precision over victory. The shinobi world was beginning to understand something terrible. Naruto Uzumaki was not climbing its ladder. He was standing beside it, marked by a sin older than rank, older than villages, older than chakra itself. And the dragon sin had not even entered assault mode, not once. Somewhere deep in the altar of Naruto's soul, Meliodas sat beneath the black sky and watched the boy sleep. For the first time, he looked almost proud. Then the altar trembled. Far beyond the pillars, something answered the dragon sin's awakening, a distant pressure, a sealed hunger, a memory of 10 tales and a war that should have stayed buried. Meliodas opened his eyes. The past was waking up. And Naruto, still only a boy, had just announced himself to every ancient thing that remembered the name of Wrath. Chapter 4, The Ones Who Were Cages, Arc Position. Post-timeskip, Akatsuki begins harvesting Jinchuriki theme. Naruto learns he is not a Jinchuriki. He is something older, and the cages of the world can feel him. For 2.5 years, Naruto Uzumaki trained outside Konoha. That was the official version. He left with Jiraiya of the Sannin, traveled across borders, learned better chakra control, improved his taijutsu, sharpened his instincts, studied infiltration, sealing theory, and enough battlefield survival to stop charging every enemy like bravery and stupidity were the same thing. That was what the reports said. They were not wrong, but they were incomplete because Jiraiya trained Naruto's body. The road trained Naruto's eyes, and the altar trained everything else. Every night when Naruto slept, he stood beneath the black sky of his own soul. The altar was clearer now. The pillars had names carved into them, though Naruto could not read all of them. Some symbols looked like ancient demonic script. Others resembled the oldest sealing formulas Jiraiya had shown him. A few shifted when Naruto stared too long, becoming images instead of words: wings of light, black flames, a broken sword. A woman with a face memory still refused to return. Meliodas was always there. Sometimes he sat on the altar steps, quiet and unreadable. Sometimes he stood with his arms crossed, watching Naruto train. Sometimes he disappeared for entire dreams, leaving Naruto alone with echoes of a war older than history. At first, Naruto hated him. Not in the loud, childish way. He hated homework or waiting for ramen. This was different. Meliodas was proof that Naruto was not simple. He was not just an orphan, not just a genin, not just the boy who wanted to become Hokage. He was a reincarnation, a vessel for memory, a second chance borrowed from someone else's sins. Naruto had shouted at him once. "So what am I supposed to be?" "You." Meliodas had looked at him for a long moment. "No." "Then why are your memories in my head?" "Because I failed loudly enough that the world remembered." Naruto had not known what to say to that. Training with Meliodas was unlike training with Jiraiya. Jiraiya corrected stances. Meliodas corrected intent. Jiraiya taught Naruto how to gather chakra without wasting half of it in explosive bursts. Meliodas taught Naruto that Ichor did not obey effort. It obeyed truth. Fake anger did nothing. Naruto could scream until his throat hurt, and the dragon sin tattoo would remain quiet. Real grief, however, could turn his blood cold enough to crack stone. That was the danger. Wrath was not a tantrum. Wrath was not loudness. Wrath was what happened when love found no other language. The first time Meliodas said that, Naruto had laughed bitterly. Sounds like an excuse. Meliodas's eyes had gone distant. It usually is. So Naruto learned restraint. He learned to hold full counter at the edge of reaction without letting it explode. He learned that reflecting power was not the same as controlling it. He learned that Lost Vein clones were not toys, not an upgraded shadow clone jutsu, not something he could throw into every fight because it looked impressive. Each Lost Vein clone carried a portion of Ichor. And every time Naruto split that power, the world felt thinner. His emotions became quieter for a few minutes after the clones vanished. Not gone, not erased. Just distant, like someone had wrapped his heart in cloth. Jiraiya noticed. Of course he did. The old pervert acted foolish, drank too much, spied too often, laughed too loudly, and wrote books Naruto still refused to admit he had peeked at. But Jiraiya was not stupid. He had survived 3 wars by noticing the things enemies hoped he would ignore. One evening, after a battle with missing nin near the border of Rain Country, Jiraiya found Naruto sitting alone beside a river. The bodies of the defeated enemies had been taken by local authorities. No one had died. Naruto had made sure of that, but he had used 2 Lost Vein clones, only 2. And now he sat staring at the water like he was trying to remember how reflection worked. Jiraiya lowered himself beside him with a groan. "You're too young to look that old, kid." Naruto did not smile. "Funny. Wasn't joking." The river moved slowly. Naruto's left shoulder was bare where his jacket had torn. The dragon sin tattoo sat there, black and still. Jiraiya had seen it many times now. He had also stopped calling it a seal. Seals had architecture, that mark had presence. "What happens when you use the black clones?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto picked up a stone and rolled it between his fingers. "They come back." That's not what I asked. Naruto's jaw tightened. They come back with everything they saw, everything they felt, just like shadow clones. And Naruto threw the stone into the river. It skipped once and sank. And sometimes they bring back less feeling than they left with. Jiraiya's face lost all humor. Naruto continued before the silence could grow teeth. It's not like I become emotionless or anything. I still get mad, still get hungry, still think you're gross. Good, healthy priorities. But for a while after, I don't know, everything feels farther away. Jiraiya looked at the tattoo, and the other guy, Naruto knew who he meant, Meliodas. He says power that comes from the soul always collects interest. Jiraiya was quiet for a while, then he said, "Sounds like the kind of thing someone says after making too many mistakes." Naruto looked at him. Jiraiya's eyes were on the river. Doesn't mean he's wrong. When Naruto returned to Konoha, he was taller. That was the first thing everyone noticed. He had grown into his limbs. His shoulders were broader. His movements were cleaner. His face still carried the same stubborn brightness, but there was something steadier beneath it now. The village expected a louder Naruto, a stronger Naruto, a Naruto who would come running through the gates shouting for ramen and recognition. He did shout for ramen, some things were sacred, but he did not shout as much for recognition anymore. That unsettled people more. Sakura noticed it immediately. When she saw him at the gate, she smiled, then paused. "Naruto," he grinned. "Hey, Sakura-chan." She punched him hard enough to fold him slightly. "That's for not writing enough. Oh, and that's for growing taller than me." "That's not my fault." She crossed her arms, but her expression softened. "You're different." Naruto rubbed his arm. "So are you." Sakura had changed too. The girl who once froze in the forest of death now stood like someone who had rebuilt herself piece by piece under Tsunade's impossible standards. Her chakra control was sharper than most Jonin. Her fists carried hospital precision and battlefield violence. Naruto smiled for real. "You got scary." Sakura's smile became dangerous. "Good." Kakashi appeared late, as always, but Naruto saw the moment his sensei's visible eye studied him, not judging, assessing. Kakashi looked at the way Naruto stood, the weight distribution, the calm in his shoulders, the absence of wasted movement. Then he looked at Naruto's left shoulder covered. Still, Kakashi knew. "Welcome back," he said. Naruto scratched his cheek. "Yo, Kakashi-sensei." The word sensei felt different now, less desperate, more chosen. For a few days, Konoha pretended things could return to normal. Naruto ate ramen with Iruka. He argued with Sakura. He tried to challenge Kakashi to a rematch and lost to a substitution prank involving 3 dogs and a paper bomb that only released glitter. He asked about Sasuke. The answer came with silence. Sasuke had left. Not during the Chunin exams, not under Orochimaru's immediate mark, because Naruto had stopped that, but darkness found other doors, pride, isolation. Itachi's shadow, the hunger to become strong enough that pain would finally make sense. Sasuke had walked out months after Naruto left with Jiraiya. No curse mark on his neck, no demonic seal pulling him, just choice. That hurt Naruto more. It would have been easier if Orochimaru had dragged him. Easier to blame a mark, but Sasuke had chosen the road himself. Naruto did not shout when he heard. He sat with Iruka at Ikaraku and stared into his untouched ramen. Iruka watched him carefully. "You're allowed to be angry." Naruto's mouth tightened. "I am. You don't look it." Naruto looked at his left shoulder. "That's the problem." That night the cages screamed. Naruto woke on his apartment floor, gasping, not from a dream, from resonance. His entire body shook. The Dragon Sin tattoo burned beneath his shirt, not with battle heat but with recognition. Somewhere far away, a seal had been attacked, not his seal, someone else's. Naruto staggered to the window. Konoha slept beneath moonlight. But beyond the village, across borders and deserts and hidden paths, something was being dragged out of a cage. He heard sand. Not with his ears, with whatever part of him was older than chakra, Gaara. Naruto was moving before he finished thinking. He grabbed his jacket, strapped on his gear, and reached for the door. Kakashi was already outside. Of course he was. His visible eye was serious. "You felt it." Naruto stopped. "You knew?" "No," Kakashi said. but I know what you look like when something inside you answers. Naruto's fists clenched. They took Gaara. Kakashi did not ask how he knew. That was why Naruto trusted him. "What are your orders?" Kakashi asked. Naruto almost laughed. Orders? He was still a shinobi of Konoha, still subject to command, still expected to wait for mission approval while another boy who had once stood on a hospital roof asking how to be anything other than a monster was pulled apart by men in black cloaks. Naruto opened his mouth, then stopped, because he had learned one thing from Meliodas, Jiraiya, and every battlefield inside his borrowed memories. Power did not excuse carelessness. "I'm telling Iruka," Naruto said. Kakashi blinked. "That's your first move." Naruto looked down the street. "If I leave without telling him, he'll worry." Kakashi's eye curved slightly. "Good answer." Naruto left 3 notes, one for Iruka, one for Sakura, one for Tsunade. The one for Tsunade was shortest. "I know I'm supposed to wait. I can't. I'll bring back who I can. Don't send people who will slow down trying to stop me. Send people who can help." Tsunade read it at sunrise and cracked the edge of her desk with one finger. "Brat." But her eyes were not angry. Not only angry, she sent Sakura, Kakashi, and a support team after him. Not to retrieve Naruto, to follow the path he was already carving. By then, Naruto was beyond Fire Country. He moved faster than he used to. Not because he flooded his body with ichor. That was too dangerous. He moved with efficiency. Meliodas' memory had taught him a truth most shinobi learned too late. Speed was not always about moving more. It was about wasting less. The world narrowed into tracks, wind, scent, pressure, and the distant ache of a wounded seal. But Naruto did not reach Gaara in time. That was the first failure of the chapter, and it mattered. Power did not always arrive before loss. When Naruto reached the remains of the extraction site, the Akatsuki were gone. The cave was broken. The air tasted like old chakra and colder things. Gaara lay still. Chiyo and Sakura would later do what they could. Life would be bargained back through sacrifice. Gaara would breathe again. But Naruto arrived in the space between, the moment where the body was there and the person was not yet returned. He knelt beside Gaara. His hands shook, not dramatically, quietly, the kind of shaking no one can see from a distance. The dragon sin tattoo burned. Black marks crawled up Naruto's neck. For one terrible second, the cave walls groaned as if the mountain itself might answer his grief. Kakashi arrived behind him. Sakura stopped at the entrance, eyes wide. Naruto did not turn. "He asked me how to be something else," Naruto said. No one answered. "I told him we start by not letting them be right about us." The marks spread farther. Kakashi took one careful step forward. Naruto. The cave floor cracked. Then Naruto closed his eyes. He remembered Zabuza's words. "Listen to it only when it's tired, not when it's angry." He breathed in. The marks stopped. He breathed out. They receded. When Naruto opened his eyes, they were still blue. "I'm not killing them because I'm angry," he said. Sakura swallowed. "Then why?" Naruto stood. "Because they're opening cages they don't understand." Gaara lived, but the message was clear. Akatsuki had begun harvesting Jinchuriki, and Naruto could feel every cage they touched. That changed his mission. He stopped thinking of Akatsuki as only enemies. They were a symptom. The world had spent generations turning people into containers and calling it strategy. Villages took children, sealed living disasters into them, then acted surprised when the children grew into loneliness, rage, and fear. Akatsuki was hunting Jinchuriki, but the villages had made them huntable. That truth followed Naruto into every borderland. He met Yujiro Nii in the ruins of a Wind Country outpost 3 weeks later. She attacked him on sight. Naruto did not blame her. The Two-Tails vessel moved like fire given human shape. Blue flames curled around her arms. Her eyes were sharp, suspicious, and exhausted in the way only a hunted person could be, she had heard rumors. A blonde shinobi from Konoha, demon energy, not a Jinchuriki, but something worse. She struck first. Naruto dodged twice. On the third attack, he let her hit him. Her flaming claw raked across his guard, hot enough to scorch the stone beneath his feet. Full counter answered. The blue fire came back at her, reflected with perfect proportion, not enough to destroy, enough to hurt. Yujiro slid backward, boots carving lines in the dirt. Her cloak smoked. Her breathing sharpened. Naruto sat down, just sat, cross-legged in the ruins, hands resting on his knees. Yujiro stared at him. What trick is this? No trick. You reflect attacks. Only when they hit me. Her eyes narrowed. That is supposed to make me feel safe. No, Naruto said honestly. It's supposed to make you understand I could have sent back more. Blue fire flickered around her fingers. Threatening me? No. Then what? Naruto looked at the broken outpost around them, old walls, burned beams, claw marks, signs of a fight that had already ended before he arrived. I'm late again, he said. Yujiro did not understand. Naruto looked at her. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to tell you that the beast isn't the worst thing about you. Her face hardened. You know nothing about me. I know the loneliness is worse. That landed, not visibly at first. Yujiro was too trained to show pain easily, but the fire around her hands dimmed. Naruto continued. I know what it's like when people turn your name into a warning. I know what it's like when everyone talks about the thing inside you before they talk about you. You are Konoha's Jinchuriki. She said. Naruto shook his head. No, Yujiro's eyes sharpened. The 9 tails. Never existed. The words sat between them like a dropped blade. Yujiro almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was impossible. Naruto pulled his jacket down from his left shoulder. The dragon sin tattoo was visible against his skin. Yujiro stared. Her own seal reacted. The 2 tails stirred inside her, and for the first time in many years, Matatabi did not growl. The beast went quiet, respectful, afraid. Yujiro's voice lowered. What are you? Naruto gave the only answer he trusted, still figuring that out. They spoke until sunset, not as friends, not yet. Trust did not come that cheaply, but Yujiro listened. Naruto told her Akatsuki was moving faster now. Told her Gaara had been taken and brought back only through sacrifice. Told her the cages could feel each other when the extraction began. Yujiro told him what cloud villages did to children they called assets, not everything. Enough, when they parted, she did not thank him. She said, "If you are lying, I will burn you." Naruto smiled faintly. Fair. Then she paused. And if you are not lying, Naruto looked toward the road. Then we stop letting them separate us. Yujiro left in the opposite direction. 2 days later, Akatsuki lost her trail. That was the first time Naruto saved a Jinchuriki, not by defeating an enemy, but by arriving early enough to warn someone how hunted they truly were. The second major confrontation came in the land of water. Rain fell hard enough to turn the road into a mirror. Naruto walked alone. That was not an accident. He had sent his shadow clones along 3 false routes, normal clones only, no Icar split. He wanted Akatsuki to choose him. Eventually, they did. Kasama Hashigaki stepped out of the rain with same harder wrapped across his back. He grinned like a shark discovering blood in the water. Well, well, Kasama said. You're a hard kid to track. Naruto stopped walking. You're Kasama. And you're supposed to be the 9 tails. Naruto sighed. People really need new information, Kasama laughed. I'm flexible. He drew same harder. The sword pulsed. Naruto felt it immediately, a living blade, hungry, ancient by human standards, but not by the altars. Kasama rested it across his shoulder. My sword eats chakra. Jinchuriki are usually a feast. Naruto looked at the weapon. Usually. Kasama's grin widened, then he attacked. The first exchange proved Kasama was not just strong, he was experienced. Zabuza had been dangerous because he understood killing. Kasama was dangerous because he understood endurance. He did not rush. He pressured. He tested angles. He forced Naruto to reveal movement patterns, then adjusted before Naruto could exploit the same trick twice. Naruto blocked a strike with a kunai. The kunai shattered. He rolled aside as Samehada tore through the road. Water rose around them. Kasama formed signs. A massive water shark surged forward. Naruto took the hit at an angle, letting it slam into his shoulder and side. Full counter answered. The reflected water force exploded backward, smashing the shark into rain and forcing Kasama to brace. Kasama's eyes gleamed. So that part's true. Naruto stood, breathing steady. Only part. They say you don't attack first. They say a lot. Kasama charged again. This time, Samehada struck Naruto's arm. The sword's scales opened, it latched on, and immediately screamed, not with a mouth, with presence. Samehada released Naruto like it had bitten poison. Kasama stumbled back, genuinely surprised. The sword trembled in his hand. Naruto looked at the bleeding line on his forearm. It closed slowly. Kasama stared at Samehada. "What did you do?" "Nothing. My sword doesn't reject meals." Naruto's dragon sin tattoo pulsed beneath his shirt. Samehada trembled harder. Kasama's grin faded for the first time. The sword had eaten the chakra of powerful shinobi. It had fed on tailed beast chakra. It had tasted monsters by the standards of this world, but ichor was not chakra. It did not flow through tenketsu. It did not obey the same spiritual physical balance. It radiated from the soul like pressure from a sealed star. Samehada had no category for it, and old hungry things survive by knowing when hunger becomes stupidity. Kasama lifted the sword again, but slower now. "Interesting." Naruto looked at him. "You're not like the others," Kasama chuckled. "Most people mean that as an insult. I mean you don't hate yourself the same way." The rain fell between them. Kasama's eyes narrowed. Naruto continued, "You want to die in a battle that proves you were real." For a moment, Kasama said nothing, then his grin returned, but it was colder. "You talk too much." He unleashed a flood. The battlefield became a lake. Kasama fused with the water like a predator returning home. His speed increased. His strikes came from impossible angles. Water prisons formed and collapsed. Sharks made of chakra swarmed from every side. Naruto could not reflect everything. That mattered. Full counter-needed received attacks, but too much pressure from too many directions could overwhelm his body before the counter shaped itself. Kasama forced him defensive. Naruto lost ground, then he used 2 Lost Vein clones, only 2. They appeared on either side of him, black markings running across their skin, each carrying a fragment of the dragon sin's pressure. Kasama sensed the difference instantly. Clones with real weight. He muttered. The first clone took a water shark head-on and reflected it into the lake floor. The second engaged Kasama directly for 3 exchanges before being cut apart by Samehada. When it vanished, Naruto staggered. The emotional distance hit him. Rain sounded farther away. Kasama noticed. Costly trick. Naruto forced himself upright. "Yeah, then why use it?" Naruto's eyes focused. "To end this without killing you." Kasama laughed. Then Naruto moved not faster than Kasama expected, cleaner. He let Kasama's next water-enhanced strike hit his guard, used full counter to rebound the force into the water beneath them, and created a split-second pressure vacuum. Kasama's footing shifted. Naruto stepped inside Samehada's reach and pressed 2 fingers against Kasama's chest. Not a punch. A tap. Ichor pulsed. Kasama flew backward across the surface of the artificial lake and crashed through 3 waves before landing on one knee. The water began to collapse around them as his control flickered. Naruto stood in the rain, black markings fading from his arm. Kasama rose slowly. Samehada hung limp, still unwilling. Naruto did not advance. "You said you wanted to die in battle," Naruto called. Kasama wiped rain from his face. "You offering?" "No," Naruto turned away. "You're not going to find that today." Kasama stared at him. No one turned their back on an Akatsuki member. No one sane. Naruto walked away anyway. Samehada did not urge Kasama to chase. That, more than anything, stopped him. Long after Naruto vanished into the rain, Kasama remained standing in the ruined road, sword trembling in his hand. For the first time in years, he wondered whether there were monsters even monsters should let pass. Naruto collapsed 3 miles later, not from injury, from memory. The rain disappeared. The road disappeared. He opened his eyes inside the altar. But this time, Melodias was not alone. At the far end of the black stone hall, a door stood open. There had never been a door before. Beyond it was darkness threaded with pale light, and in that doorway stood Hagoromo Otsutsuki. The sage of 6 paths looked exactly as Naruto had seen him in old temple art and nothing like those drawings at all. The drawings showed a holy figure. This man looked tired, older than worship, sad enough to be honest. Naruto stood slowly. You! Hagoromo inclined his head. Naruto Uzumaki. Meliodas sat on the altar steps, silent. Naruto looked between them. The anger came quickly. Good. Anger was easier than fear. You knew. Hagoromo did not pretend to misunderstand. Yes, you knew what I was. Yes, you knew the village would hate me for something that wasn't even true. Hagoromo's staff rings did not move, but Naruto heard them anyway, faint as distant bells. I knew your world would fear what it could not name. Naruto stepped forward. That's not an answer. No, Hagoromo said. It is a confession. That stopped him, only slightly. Naruto pointed at Meliodas. Who is he? Meliodas looked away. Hagoromo answered. The last apology of a war that ended before your world existed. Naruto's chest tightened. What does that mean? The altar shifted. Images rose from the black floor, not illusions, memories. A sky torn open by divine light and demonic shadow. Armies clashing with powers that made jutsu look like sparks from a campfire. A demon king sitting on a throne beyond death. A supreme deity made of light, too cold to be kind. A young warrior marked by a dragon standing between both sides and losing pieces of himself every time he chose love over obedience. Naruto watched the old war unfold, not all of it, enough to understand scale, enough to understand why Meliodas' grief was so heavy. Hagoromo spoke. Before chakra had a name, there was conflict between energies your world would later divide into myth. Divine, demonic, natural, mortal, they were not separate then. They bled into one another. Naruto saw a massive shape form from leaking power, 10 tails, one eye, hunger without personhood. The 10 tails, Naruto whispered. Hagoromo nodded. The residue of a war that did not belong to this world. When it entered the mortal plane, reality gave it a body. Naruto looked at him sharply. You sealed it. I translated it. The word struck harder than expected. Hagoromo continued. To seal a thing is to imprison it. To translate it is to give it a form the world can survive. The tailed beasts were not created from nothing. They were portions of impossible energy given names, minds, and boundaries. Images shifted. 9 beasts appeared, not as monsters but as confused newborn forces, each shaped from pieces of something too large. Naruto thought of Gaara, Yujito. Every child turned into a container for something ancient and afraid, his fists clenched. And me. Hagoromo looked at Meliodas. Naruto followed his gaze. Meliodas finally spoke. I was left behind. His voice was quiet. When the old war ended, when the demon king and the supreme deity were forced beyond the barrier, I remained on the mortal side. I lived too long. Long enough to watch your sage build a world out of the wreckage. Naruto looked at him. You asked to be reborn. Yes. Why? Meliodas' smile was small and painful, because immortality is not the same as forgiveness. Naruto had no answer. Hagoromo stepped closer. You were born human, Naruto? That matters. Meliodas' soul is part of yours, but it does not erase you. It feels like it's trying sometimes. Meliodas' eyes darkened. It is not trying. Memory is heavy. That is all. Naruto laughed once harshly. That's all. No, Meliodas admitted. That is not all. The altar trembled. Far away, something growled, not Kurama, never Kurama, a deeper hunger, the memory of 10 tails. Hagoromo looked toward the darkness beyond the pillars. Akatsuki believes they are collecting beasts. They do not understand what those beasts truly are. If they gather them, if they force the translated pieces back into one body, they may reopen the wound my era closed. Naruto's mouth went dry. And what happens then? Hagoromo's eyes carried the answer before he spoke. The mortal world becomes a battlefield for powers it has forgotten how to survive. Naruto looked down at his hands. Why tell me now? Because the cages can feel you, Hagoromo said. You are not one of them, but the oldest seal in this world was placed on Meliodas' soul. Every tailed beast prison recognizes the shape of that boundary. To them, you are not a vessel. Naruto looked up. What am I? Hagoromo's expression softened. A door that chose to stay closed. Naruto woke before dawn. He was lying beneath a tree, rain dripping from the leaves above him. His body ached, his clothes were torn, his forearm had healed. But the real change was not physical. He understood now why the cages screamed. Not because he was their king, not because he controlled them, because they recognized a fellow boundary, a seal with a heartbeat, a prison that had chosen to become a person. Naruto returned to Konoha weeks later, but not as someone coming home to stay. He stood before Tsunade in the Hokage's office while Sakura, Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Shikamaru listened. Tsunade looked furious, relieved, exhausted, all at once. "You left without authorization," Naruto nodded. "Yes, you engaged Akatsuki without backup. Yes, you warned a foreign Jinchuriki without diplomatic approval. Yes, you fought Kasama Hashigaki alone." Naruto hesitated. "Technically, he fought me." Sakura elbowed him hard. "Oh." Tsunade's eye twitched. Then Naruto's expression turned serious. "They're not just taking beasts." The room changed. Naruto told them what Hagoromo had shown him, not everything. Some memories were too large for words, but enough. The demon clan's residue, the 10 tails as a wound. The tailed beasts as translated fragments. Akatsuki as fools gathering pieces of a disaster they thought was a weapon. Jiraiya went very still. Kakashi's visible eye darkened. Shikamaru whispered, "Troublesome doesn't cover this." Tsunade leaned back slowly. "And you?" Naruto touched his left shoulder. "I'm not the 9 tails." No one in that room argued, not anymore. "I'm not a Jinchuriki," Naruto said. "I'm what the oldest seal in the world looks like when it gets born as a kid in Konoha." Silence. Then Sakura stepped forward. Her voice was careful. "Are you still Naruto?" The question hurt, not because she asked it, because she needed to. Naruto looked at her. He thought of ramen, Uruka's smile, Kakashi's stupid book. Sasuke sitting beside him in silence after Gaara's match, Gaara asking how to be anything else. Yujito threatening to burn him if he lied, Jiraiya snoring beside campfires. He thought of all the things that were his, not Meliodas'. His. "Yeah," Naruto said, "but I think I'm more than I wanted to be." Sakura nodded once. "That's okay," Naruto blinked. "It is." "No," she said. "But we'll make it okay." For some reason, that almost broke him. Tsunade stood. "From this point forward, Akatsuki is priority one. We coordinate with allied villages. We protect every Jinchuriki we can reach. And Naruto," he straightened, "you do not run alone unless there is no other choice." Naruto opened his mouth. Tsunade's glare stopped him. "I know you'll do it anyway if you think you have to, so I'm saying this clearly. If you run, you leave a trail we can follow. You send clones, you report, you let your comrades be comrades." Naruto looked at Kakashi, then Sakura, then Jiraiya. Finally, he nodded. "Okay," Tsunade exhaled. "Good, now get out before I remember how angry I am." Naruto smiled faintly. That night he sat on the Hokage monument, not on any face above them, on the uncarved stone. The village glowed beneath him, alive, messy, unfair, worth protecting anyway. The dragon sin tattoo rested quietly beneath his jacket. For once, the altar in his soul did not call him, but far away, across the world, Akatsuki kept moving. Cages tightened, beasts stirred. Old wounds remembered the shape of opening, and Naruto Uzumaki finally understood the truth. He was not a shinobi with a demon problem. He was a demon who had chosen to be born human, and every day from now on would be a choice to keep choosing it. Chapter 5, The Cycle and the Sin Arc Position. Pain assault on Konoha theme. Pain believes suffering can control the world. Naruto knows suffering only teaches the world how to suffer better. Jiraiya died in the rain. That was the first thing Naruto could not full counter. No attack had struck him. No blade had crossed his guard. No chakra blast had slammed against his body and given the dragon sin permission to answer. The news arrived as ink on paper, carried by a toad messenger with tired eyes and a voice that had forgotten how to soften bad things. Jiraiya of the Sannin had infiltrated Aimgakure. Jiraiya had confirmed the leader of Akatsuki. Jiraiya had fought 6 bodies controlled by one will. Jiraiya had sent back a final message, and then Jiraiya was gone. For a long time, Naruto said nothing. He stood in Tsunade's office with Sakura beside him, Kakashi behind him, and the whole room held its breath as if sound itself might set him off. Tsunade's hands were folded on the desk. Too tightly, her knuckles were pale. She did not look like the Hokage in that moment. She looked like someone who had lost the last person who still remembered her before the title, before the village, before all the graves. Naruto looked down at the coded message, numbers, fragments. A final puzzle from a man who had spent half his life pretending to be a joke, because the world was easier to survive when people underestimated how much you cared. Naruto's left shoulder burned. The Dragon Sin tattoo pulsed once beneath his jacket. Sakura saw his hand twitch and stepped closer. Naruto, he did not answer. Inside him, the altar opened. For 1 second, he saw Meliodas standing beneath the black sky, silent, not guiding, not warning, just present. Naruto hated that silence. "Say something," Naruto whispered. Everyone in the room thought he was speaking to them. He was not. The altar remained silent. Naruto's fingers tightened around the message. Jiraiya had taught him how to travel, how to watch people, how to laugh when fear wanted to make you small, how to throw a punch without wasting half the motion, how to eat badly, sleep lightly, run fast, and never trust a beautiful woman offering free drinks unless you knew exactly where the exits were. And now Jiraiya was gone, not sealed, not waiting, not a memory from someone else's war, gone. Naruto could resurrect. That truth had become harder to ignore over the years. The demon clan curse slept inside Meliodas' soul. Death did not hold him properly. If Naruto died, he would return, but Jiraiya would not. That was the cruelty of immortality before Naruto had even fully inherited it. Everyone else stayed dead. Tsunade finally spoke. "Pain is coming." The name settled over the room. Pain, not a man, but a declaration. Naruto looked up slowly. "Then I'm going." "No," Tsunade said. The word cracked like a whip. Naruto's eyes sharpened. "I'm not asking, and I'm not negotiating." The office went cold. Kakashi shifted slightly, not stepping between them, but ready if either grief or authority became reckless. Tsunade stood. "You are exactly what Akatsuki wants. They want the tailed beasts. They want every old power tied to the 10 tails. After what you told us, you know that includes you?" Naruto's jaw tightened. "I'm not hiding while he comes here." "You're not hiding," Tsunade said. "You're training." Naruto almost laughed. It came out ugly. "Training, he killed Jiraiya." Tsunade's face flinched. Only once, then she leaned forward. "And if you go after him right now, he will kill you too." Naruto's marks began to crawl up his neck. Sakura stepped in front of him. "Naruto, look at me." He did not want to, so he did. Sakura's eyes were wet but steady. "You're angry." "Of course I'm angry." "No," she said. "You're wounded." The marks stopped. That was the difference. Anger demanded action. Wounds demanded care. Naruto looked away. Tsunade's voice lowered. "Pain defeated Jiraiya because Jiraiya did not understand the 6 paths in time. We have a chance to understand. We have a chance to prepare. If you waste that because grief wants to move faster than wisdom, then Jiraiya died for nothing." The room became silent. Naruto's fist trembled, then the marks receded, not because he was calm, because he chose not to break yet. "Where?" he asked. Tsunade exhaled. "Mount Myaboku." Naruto stared. "The toads." Jiraiya believed sage training might help you stabilize what you are. Kakashi's visible eye darkened. "Sage chakra and ichor." Tsunade nodded. "Dangerous." Naruto gave a humorless smile. "That's becoming a theme." Mount Myaboku did not feel like Konoha. That was the first mercy. No familiar streets, no Ikaraku, no Hokage monument, no apartment walls that remembered loneliness. Only impossible stone, giant leaves, oil fountains, old toads, and air so full of nature energy that Naruto felt like the mountain was breathing through his skin. Fukasaku was smaller than Naruto expected, also scarier. "You're carrying something strange, boy," the old toad said the first time he saw him. Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Yeah, I get that a lot." Fukasaku narrowed his eyes. "Don't joke too much." Jiraiya boy joked when he was hiding fear too. Naruto went quiet. That was how sage training began, not with power, with stillness. Naruto hated stillness. Stillness left too much room for memory. When he sat on the stone platform, trying to gather nature energy, he heard Jiraiya laughing. He saw Gaara lying still in the extraction cave. He felt Yujito's guarded eyes. He remembered Haku's mirrors, Mizuki's shuriken, Uruka's voice, Sasuke leaving, and the blurred face of a woman from Meliodas' memories whose absence hurt even though Naruto had never known her. Nature energy entered him slowly, then it touched Iker. The reaction was instant. The Dragon Sin tattoo flared black, stone cracked beneath Naruto. Fukasaku leapt backward. Stop! Naruto opened his eyes. Black markings had spread over his arms, not wild, hungry. The nature energy had not balanced him. It had amplified everything. Grief became pressure. Wrath became gravity. The mountain trembled. Inside the altar, Meliodas appeared. Let go, Naruto growled. Meliodas looked at him. No, Naruto's eyes burned. He killed Jiraiya? Yes. So let me use it. No, Naruto stood in the altar and shoved Meliodas with both hands. Meliodas did not move. That made Naruto angrier. You gave me this. Your curse, your memories, your stupid ancient war. Everyone keeps looking at me like I'm some door or weapon or apology, so open it. Meliodas' face changed. Not anger, pain. You think opening everything is strength, Naruto shouted. I think holding back got Jiraiya killed. The altar went silent. Then Meliodas stepped close. For the first time, Naruto felt the full age of him, not power, age, 10,000 years of battlefields. 10,000 years of surviving what should have ended him. 10,000 years of learning that wrath could destroy enemies faster than it could heal the reason they existed. Meliodas spoke softly. Wrath is easy when someone you love dies. Naruto's chest heaved. Meliodas continued. The hard part is deciding whether your grief gets to choose the shape of the world after. Naruto woke with Fukasaku's staff pressed against his forehead. He was breathing hard. The black marks faded. The stone beneath him was ruined. Fukasaku stared at him for a long moment. Then he said, Again. Naruto blinked. What? Again, but this time stop trying to be calm. Naruto stared. That's literally the opposite of what you said. No, I said be still, not empty. Empty things break when filled. Still things can hold storms. So Naruto trained. He failed again, again, again. Each time, nature energy touched Iker and threatened to turn him into something too large for his body. Each time, he learned to hold one feeling without letting it become every feeling. Jiraiya's laugh, not his death, his laugh. Uruka calling him precious, not Mizuki's betrayal. Gaara breathing again, not Gaara lying still. Sakura saying, we'll make it okay, not the fear in her eyes. Little by little, Naruto understood. Stillness was not the absence of wrath. Stillness was wrath kneeling instead of charging. When pain arrived in Konoha, Naruto was not there. That was the second thing he could not full counter, distance. Pain entered like judgment. The 6 paths moved through the village with terrifying calm. No wasted motion, no cruelty for its own sake. That made it worse. Cruelty could be dismissed as evil. Pain acted like a man performing necessary surgery on a world he believed was already dying. The animal path summoned beasts that tore through defenses. The Asura path fired weapons no ordinary shinobi could predict. The human path stole information with a touch. The Preta path devoured ninjutsu. The Naraka path restored broken bodies. And above them all, the Diva path walked through Konoha with Yahiko's face and Nagato's will behind dead eyes. Kakashi fought him first, not alone by choice. Alone because the battlefield split too quickly. Kakashi understood within minutes that pain was not one enemy, he was a system. Every blind spot was watched by another body. Every strategy was corrected by shared vision. Every successful attack mattered only if the Naraka path could not undo it. Kakashi survived longer than most would have. Long enough to send information. Long enough to force pain to reveal the interval after Shinra Tensei. Long enough to be crushed beneath the math of an enemy who had turned grief into engineering. He did not die. Not in this timeline. But he came close enough that later, Naruto would remember the stillness of Kakashi's body and feel the dragon sin tattoo ache. Sakura saved civilians until her hands shook. Tsunade poured chakra through Katsuyu until every breath became sacrifice. Iruka protected academy students in an evacuation tunnel and refused to leave until the last child was out. Danzo hid. That was important too. Some men called caution strategy because cowardice sounded too honest. When the diva path rose above the village and spoke of pain, Konoha heard him. Those who do not understand true pain can never understand true peace. Then Shinra Tensei fell. The village broke, not like a battlefield, like a memory being erased. Buildings flattened outward in a massive wave. Streets vanished under dust. The Hawkage Tower collapsed. Homes became outlines. The village that had hated Naruto, raised Naruto, feared Naruto, fed Naruto, rejected Naruto, and slowly begun to accept him was reduced to a crater beneath a godlike act of force. Far away on Mount Mayaboku, Naruto felt it, not through chakra, through bonds. The old kind. The kind that formed when a place hurt you and still became home. His eyes opened, the dragon sin tattoo blazed. Fukasaku looked toward Konoha's direction. "It's time," Naruto stood. No shouting, no dramatic speech. That was how Fukasaku knew the training had changed something. Naruto arrived in the crater wearing a red cloak, sage markings around his eyes, and the dragon sin tattoo visible across his left shoulder. The village went quiet, not because hope had arrived, because something older than hope had stepped onto the battlefield and was trying very hard to remain human. Sakura saw him first. "Naruto," her voice cracked. He looked at her, then at the ruins, then at the bodies, the injured, the dust. The broken faces of people who had once looked at him with fear and now looked at him with desperate belief. His marks almost spread, almost. He breathed once. They stayed still. Pain turned toward him. "So you are Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto looked at the 6 bodies. "And your pain." "I am the one who will bring peace." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "No, you're the one who confused silence with peace." The first battle began immediately. Naruto moved with sage-enhanced speed, but he did not rely on Ichor at first. That was deliberate. He destroyed the animal path's summons with physical force and precision, avoiding wide attacks that would endanger survivors. He used normal shadow clones to split vision, then used sage sensory to locate shared blind spots. The Asura path attacked with a barrage of chakra-powered weapons. Naruto took one blast against his shoulder. Full counter reflected it backward, multiplied and focused. The Asura path shattered against its own force. One down. The Preta path moved to absorb Naruto's next Rasengan. Naruto let it. The body froze as sage chakra flooded it beyond what it could safely process. 2 down. The human path reached for a fallen shinobi nearby. Naruto appeared between them. For 1 second, the dragon sin marks flashed across his arm. He did not strike first. He let the human path touch him. The moment its ability tried to pull at his soul, it reached the altar. Meliodas opened his eyes. The human path recoiled. Naruto's full counter answered the spiritual intrusion as pressure, sending the body skidding across the crater. 3 down. For a moment, it looked like Naruto was winning. That was when the diva path raised one hand. "Shinra Tensei." Naruto braced. The force hit. It was not like a punch, not like water, not like fire. It was repulsion given authority, the world itself telling him to move. Naruto took it head-on. Full counter tried to answer. But Shinra Tensei was not a simple chakra projectile. It was chakra manipulating fundamental force. Reflecting it was like trying to punch a wave back into the ocean. The dragon sin tattoo cracked, not physically like skin splitting, spiritually. Black light fissured across the mark. Naruto flew backward and smashed through the remains of a stone wall. The crater shook. Sakura screamed his name. Pain watched calmly. Naruto stood slowly. Dust fell from his cloak. Blood marked one corner of his mouth. The tattoo was cracked, still burning. Pain tilted his head. "You endured." Naruto wiped his mouth. "I've had practice." The Diva Path's interval had begun. Naruto charged. The Naraka Path moved to restore one broken body. A lost vein clone appeared beside Naruto. Only one. Its black markings flared, carrying a controlled portion of ichor. Together, Naruto and the clone intercepted the Naraka Path. The clone took the counterattack and reflected enough force to expose the body's core receiver. Naruto shattered the receiver with a precise strike. 4 down. The clone vanished. Naruto staggered. For half a second, warmth left his face. Sakura saw it. The cost. The way his expression became distant after using the ichor split. Pain saw it too. Your power consumes you? Naruto looked up. Yours consumed 6 corpses first. The Diva Path's ability returned. Again the hand lifted. Again the words came. Shinra Tensei? The second blast was stronger. Naruto tried to angle it this time, combining sage strength with full counter's response. It was not enough. The force crushed him into the ground. The Dragon Sin tattoo cracked wider. The crater floor caved beneath him. For a moment, Naruto did not get up. Pain walked forward. You are powerful, he said. But power without understanding only continues the cycle. Naruto's fingers dug into the dirt. Pain continued. My family died because nations used small countries as battlefields. My friends died because villages like yours exported violence and called it order. Jiraiya-sensei taught us hope, and hope did not save us, so I chose pain. Pain teaches what words cannot. At Jiraiya's name, Naruto's marks surged. Black lines spread up his neck, across his cheek, down both arms. The air shook. Sage chakra and ichor collided violently inside him. For one terrible second, the altar doors inside his soul flew open. Meliodas stood. Naruto. But Naruto could barely hear him. Pain had said Jiraiya's name. Pain had taken the village. Pain had turned grief into a sermon. Naruto rose, not in sage mode, not fully, something darker. The pressure rolled outward, and every loose stone in the crater lifted an inch from the ground. The Diva Path paused. Sakura felt her breath catch. This was the second loss, not physical, moral. Naruto stepped forward, and for one instant, he wanted to destroy Pain. Not stop him. Not defeat him. Destroy him. Full counter did not need to answer. Ichor could be forced offensively if Naruto abandoned restraint. That was the forbidden edge Meliodas had warned him about. The dragon sin of wrath was not helpless without being struck. It simply became something else when it chose to initiate harm, something closer to the old war. Naruto raised his hand. The black markings sharpened. Then he saw Iruka in the evacuation tunnel, shielding children. He saw Sakura exhausted and afraid. He saw Kakashi still breathing because someone had dragged him from rubble. He saw Gaara asking, "Did you want to kill me?" He saw Jiraiya laughing, not dying, and in the altar, Meliodas spoke again. The hard part is deciding whether your grief gets to choose the shape of the world after. Naruto's hand stopped. The offensive ichor collapsed inward. The recoil dropped him to one knee. Pain attacked immediately. A black receiver pinned Naruto's cloak to the ground. Then another. Then another. Pain stood over him. You hesitate because you know I am right. Naruto's breathing was rough. No, Pain looked down at him. You have known loneliness. You have known hatred. You have known what villages do to children they fear. Tell me, Naruto Uzumaki, why should this world not be forced to understand pain? Naruto lifted his head. His eyes were still blue beneath sage markings. Because pain doesn't teach peace. Pain's expression did not change. Naruto continued, voice low. It teaches memory, that's all. And people choose what to do with memory. The receivers trembled. I've seen where your cycle ends. Pain paused, not because he believed him, because Naruto's voice did not sound like a boy guessing, it sounded like testimony. In Meliodas' memories, I saw a holy war that lasted longer than your village has existed. Gods and demons, armies and kingdoms. Every side had pain, every side had reasons. Every side believed if they made the other side hurt enough, the war would end. Naruto's fingers curled around one receiver. It didn't. Black and white gold energy flickered around his hand. What comes after pain so total that no one dares repeat it? Naruto asked. Pain said nothing. Naruto pulled one receiver free. Nothing. Another receiver cracked. No peace, no justice. Just survivors carrying the same grief in a quieter world. Pain's face finally shifted, only slightly, but enough. Naruto stood. The remaining receivers fell away. He was no longer forcing Icar outward. He was holding it. Every grief, every wound, every insult, every lonely night, every borrowed memory of Meliodas' war, every loss, all of it held at once, not suppressed, accepted. Sage chakra entered that stillness. This time, Icar did not explode, it fused. The dragon's sin tattoo blazed white gold, the cracks sealed with light. Fukasaku, watching from a distance, whispered, "So that's what stillness looks like on him." Naruto looked at the remaining paths, the Diva path, the restored bodies trying to rise, the receivers connecting them all to Nagato. He understood the system now, not just the battle system, the ideology. Pain controlled corpses because corpses could not disagree with grief. Naruto moved. The technique had no hand signs, no shouted name at first. 1,000 thin lines of white gold force appeared around him, each one shaped with sage precision and powered by Icar's impossible edge. Not blades meant to kill, cuts meant to sever. Naruto finally spoke. "Divine 1,000 cuts." The lines vanished, then reappeared across the battlefield in the same instant. Each strike targeted a chakra receiver, one in a shoulder, one in a wrist, one in the spine of a body already dead. One through the rod hidden beneath cloth, one through the connection point carrying Nagato's will. The paths froze, no blood, no spectacle, just silence. Then one by one they collapsed. The Diva path remained standing longest. Yahiko's face looked at Naruto with Nagato's eyes. "You would spare me." Naruto's white gold markings faded slowly. "No." Pain looked at him. Naruto's voice was tired. "I'm done sparing ideas that kill people, but I'm not killing you before you answer for them." The Diva path fell. The battlefield went still. Naruto found Nagato through sage sensing and the fading thread of receiver chakra. Konan stood in his way inside the hidden tree, paper wings spread behind her. She looked exhausted, dangerous, ready to die. Naruto stopped several steps away. "I'm not here to fight you." Konan's eyes were cold. "That is what people say before they fight." "I know." "Then leave." "No." Paper sharpened around her. Naruto did not move. "I need to talk to him." Konan's voice shook with anger. "He has nothing left to say to you." Naruto looked past her. "Yes, he does." Nagato sat within the machine that sustained him, thin and ruined by his own power. His hair hung around a face that looked far older than his years. Naruto had expected hatred. Instead, he felt grief so concentrated it had become architecture. Nagato looked at him. "You defeated the 6 paths." Naruto stepped closer. "I defeated bodies you were using to avoid standing in front of people yourself." Konan's paper flared. Nagato raised one hand slightly. She stopped. Naruto stood before him. For a moment neither spoke. Then Nagato said, "You carry old memories." Naruto nodded. "Too many." "Then you know I am not wrong about the world." Naruto's answer came quietly. "You're right about the wound." Nagato's eyes sharpened. Naruto continued, "You're wrong about the cure." Nagato's mouth twisted faintly. Jiraiya-sensei said similar things. He believed in you? He believed in a child that no longer exists. "No," Naruto said. "He believed people could become more than what pain made them." Nagato looked away. For the first time, his certainty seemed tired. Naruto took another step. "You wanted to change the world, so do I. Let's argue about how." That was what broke the room, not a threat, not forgiveness, an argument, a future tense. Nagato stared at Naruto as if he had offered something impossible. "You would argue with me?" "Yeah, after what I did." Naruto's hands curled. "I didn't say I wasn't angry." The dragon sin tattoo pulsed once, quiet and white gold. "I'm furious. Part of me wants to reflect everything you did back at you until there's nothing left, but if I let that part choose, then you win." Nagato's eyes lowered. "Because the cycle continues. Because grief gets another body." Silence, long, heavy, honest. Then Nagato began to laugh, not happily, not madly, sadly, like someone hearing a song from childhood and realizing he had forgotten the words on purpose. "Jiraiya-sensei," Nagato whispered, "you found another impossible student." Naruto said nothing. Nagato looked at Konan. She understood before Naruto did. Her face broke. "Nagato," he smiled at her. "I am tired." "No, I have been tired for a long time." Naruto stepped forward. "What are you doing?" Nagato formed a sign, choosing what to do with memory. The Rinnegan flared. Far away in the crater of Konoha, souls answered. People who had fallen during the assault breathed again. Families reunited in shock. Shinobi opened their eyes beneath rubble. A village returned from the edge. Naruto felt every life flare like a lantern, but in front of him, Nagato faded. The cost was absolute. Konan caught him as his strength left. Naruto could only stand there. Again, something happened that he could not full counter. A sacrifice freely given. Nagato looked at him one last time. "Do not become a god," he whispered. Naruto's throat tightened. Nagato's eyes dimmed. Konan held him and said nothing. Naruto bowed his head. He did not forgive Nagato, not fully, not easily, maybe not ever, but he understood him. That was harder. When Naruto returned to Konoha, the village was alive, broken, but alive. People stared as he walked through the crater. Some cried. Some bowed. Some reached for him like touching him would confirm they had survived. Naruto did not know what to do with any of it. Then Iruka pushed through the crowd. For 1 second, Naruto was 12 again. Mizuki's shuriken, the forest. A teacher stepping in front of him. Iruka hugged him. No speech, no title, no fear. Just arms around a boy who had saved a village and still needed someone to hold him like he was not only useful. Naruto closed his eyes. The dragon sin tattoo quieted. Later, when the sun set over the ruined village, Naruto sat on a broken piece of the Hokage monument. Sakura sat beside him. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Sakura said, "You won." Naruto looked at the village. "No," she turned. He continued. "Winning would mean Jiraiya comes back." Sakura's eyes softened. Naruto's voice was steady but low. "I stopped pain. Nagato chose to bring people back. Konoha survived. That's not winning." "What is it?" Naruto looked at his left shoulder. The tattoo no longer looked only black. For the first time, faint pale lines ran through the dragon mark like cracks filled with dawn. "A payment," he said. Sakura did not fully understand, but she stayed. That was enough. Deep inside Naruto's soul, the altar glowed white gold for the first time. Meliodas stood beneath the black sky and looked toward the place where Hagoromo's door had appeared. The sage was gone, for now. But the darkness beyond the pillars stirred. The 10 Tails remembered. The Demon King remembered. The old war had heard Naruto's answer to pain. And somewhere beyond life and death, something ancient began to smile. Because the dragon's sin of wrath had learned stillness, and that made him far more dangerous than rage ever had. Chapter 6, The Captain of Nothing Arc Position. Post-Pain 4th Shinobi War Aftermath Final Transformation Theme. Naruto's greatest act of wrath is not destroying the world. It is refusing to let the world destroy itself. After Pain, people began calling Naruto a hero. He hated it. Not because he disliked praise. Naruto Uzumaki had spent most of his childhood starving for one kind word from people who crossed streets to avoid him. Part of him still wanted the cheers. Part of him still remembered sitting alone on the academy swing, watching other children go home with families who said their names like they mattered. But hero was a dangerous word. Hero made people forget the cost. Hero turned rubble into a stage and grief into a story everyone could clap for. Naruto walked through the rebuilt streets of Konoha and saw people bow their heads. Some smiled. Some cried. Some apologized without saying the words. The same shopkeepers who once closed their doors now gave him extra food. Parents who had pulled their children away now encouraged them to wave. Naruto waved back. He smiled. He accepted the ramen. But deep inside him, the dragon sin tattoo stayed quiet and heavy, as if it understood something Naruto was only beginning to learn. Love given after victory was still love. But it was not the same as love given before proof. Iruka remained the exception. He never called Naruto a hero. He called him an idiot, usually while buying him ramen. "You saved the village and still forgot to sleep," Iruka said one evening, watching Naruto inhale his third bowl. Naruto pointed his chopsticks at him. "Heroes don't need sleep." Iruka's eyebrow twitched. "Good thing you're not a hero then." Naruto paused. The words hit deeper than Iruka probably intended. Iruka noticed. He always did. "You're Naruto," Iruka said simply. "That's harder. Try doing that properly." Naruto looked down at his ramen. For some reason, that helped more than every cheer in Konoha, because the world was changing too quickly. Akatsuki had been wounded, not destroyed. The tailed beasts were still being hunted. The truth of the 10 tails, the old demonic residue, and Hagoromo's ancient translation had reached the leaders of the great nations in fragments. Fragments were dangerous. A full truth could frighten people into caution. A partial truth could frighten them into war. The Cage Summit was called under the official purpose of coordinating against Akatsuki. Unofficially, everyone wanted to know what Naruto was. The Reikage called him a destabilizing factor. The Tsuchikage called him an unclassified strategic entity. The Mizukage called him a child carrying too much history. Gaara called him Naruto. That mattered. At the summit, Naruto stood behind Tsunade, no longer hiding the dragon sin tattoo. His jacket sat open at the shoulder. The black mark rested against his skin, threaded now with faint pale cracks from the divine 1,000 cuts. The room was full of power. Cage, guards, advisors, political weight sharp enough to cut without steel, and still everyone felt the pressure around Naruto. He did not release it. He did not threaten, he simply existed. That was enough. The Reikage slammed one hand onto the table. "You expect us to trust Konoha with this?" Tsunade's eyes flashed. "With him," she corrected. The Reikage's gaze shifted to Naruto. "Him, then?" Naruto met his eyes. "I don't belong to Konoha." The room went still. Tsunade did not interrupt. Naruto continued, "I love Konoha, I'll protect it, but I'm not its weapon." The Tsuchikage leaned forward. "And if Konoha ordered you," Naruto's answer came without hesitation, "I'd listen." Several advisors relaxed, then Naruto finished. "And if the order was wrong, I'd refuse." The advisors stopped relaxing. Gaara's mouth curved slightly. The Reikage studied him. "That sounds like a threat." Naruto shook his head. "No, it's a warning. There's a difference." The Mizukage's eyes narrowed with interest. "What are you warning us about?" Naruto placed one hand on the table, not hard, but every cup of tea in the room rippled. "You all built villages by turning children into cages. No one spoke. Some of you did it because you were afraid. Some because your enemies did it first. Some because power is easier to justify when you call it balance." His eyes moved from cage to cage. "But Akatsuki is taking those cages apart, and if they put what's inside back together, it won't be your weapon. It won't be their weapon. It'll be the wound that created the shinobi world opening again." The room had gone quiet in a way politics rarely allowed. Naruto's voice lowered. "I'm not asking you to trust me because I'm safe. I'm not safe. I'm asking you to trust me because I know I'm not safe, and I'm still choosing to stand here instead of above you." That was the beginning of the alliance, not friendship, not peace, necessity. But many forms of peace begin as necessity before they become belief. The Fourth Shinobi War did not begin with one declaration. It began with missing patrols, with Akatsuki sightings, with white Zetsu infiltrations wearing familiar faces, with old graves disturbed. With the dead returned to the battlefield through Edo Tensei, turned into weapons because even death was no longer allowed to be private. Naruto fought in that war. Not as a secret weapon hidden until the final hour, as a boundary. He moved between battlefields with shadow clones, but he used Lost Vein clones only when absolutely necessary. Every Icar split took something from him, not enough for others to see at first, but Sakura noticed. After one battle near the coast, where Naruto used 4 Lost Vein clones to protect a medical division from reanimated shinobi, Sakura found him sitting behind a supply tent, staring at his hands. "Naruto," He looked up too slowly. For 1 second his face was empty, not cruel, not cold. Just distant. Then warmth returned like a candle being relit. Sakura-chan, she crouched in front of him. How many? He tried to smile. How many what? She did not smile back. How many clones? The lie died before it reached his mouth. 4, her face tightened. You said 2 was your safe limit. It was an emergency. It's always an emergency in war. Naruto looked away. Sakura grabbed his wrist, not gently, like a medic refusing to let a patient hide symptoms. What did it cost? Naruto's jaw worked. Then he whispered. I forgot the sound of Jiraiya's laugh for a minute. Sakura went still. Naruto swallowed. It came back, I think, mostly. Sakura's grip loosened, but she did not let go. Naruto, I'm okay. No, you're functional. That's not the same. He almost laughed. It hurt too much. Across the war, Naruto died 3 times. The first was against a reanimated Cage who forced him into a strike meant for an entire allied division. The attack was too large to fully reflect, too sudden to avoid, and too close to comrades to redirect without risk. Naruto took it. His body stopped. His soul did not. He woke on the altar, the black sky above him, Meliodas standing nearby, and a door beyond the pillars glowing faintly. Naruto sat up, breathing hard. I died. Yes, Meliodas said. Naruto touched his chest. I'm going back. Yes. What did it cost? Meliodas did not answer quickly. That was answer enough. Naruto stood. What did it cost? Meliodas looked at him with ancient sorrow. Your first memory of Ikaraku. Naruto froze. He reached for it. The first bowl, the steam, the warmth. The old man smiling at him before Naruto had money to pay properly. He remembered Ikaraku. He remembered loving ramen. But the first memory was gone. A clean hole where warmth had been. Naruto returned to the battlefield screaming. Not with rage at the enemy, with terror at the price. The second death cost him the exact sound of Kushina's voice from the one dream where Hagoromo had allowed her memory to reach him. The third cost him the feeling of being carried by Jiraiya after collapsing from training. He remembered Jiraiya had carried him. He remembered complaining. He remembered being embarrassed, but he could no longer feel the weight of that safety. After the third resurrection, Naruto stopped sleeping near other people. Sakura found out anyway, so did Kakashi, so did Iruka. Iruka came to him before the final stage of the war, when the moon hung too large, and the Ten-Tails' shadow moved across the world like history had become hungry again. Naruto sat alone on a ridge, watching distant fires. Iruka sat beside him. For a while, neither spoke. Then Iruka said, I don't remember my mother's hands. Naruto looked at him. Iruka stared ahead. I remember her face from photographs. I remember stories. I remember that she was kind. But her hands, how they felt when she fixed my collar, gone. Naruto's throat tightened. Iruka-sensei, you are going to lose things, Naruto. Some because of the curse. Some because life is cruel. Some because memory is not as strong as we pretend. Iruka looked at him then. But losing pieces does not mean you are becoming empty. Naruto looked down. What if I lose too much? Iruka smiled sadly. Then we remember for you. That nearly broke him. The final battlefield was not one place. It was everywhere the world had failed to stay healed. The Ten-Tails rose as a body made from all the wrong translations forced together. Divine residue, demonic hunger. Natural energy twisted through chakra systems never meant to hold it. Hagoromo had once translated that wound into 9 names. Akatsuki, Obito, and Madara had dragged those names back toward silence. Naruto stood before the Ten-Tails and understood something no battlefield lesson had prepared him for. The creature was not evil that made it worse. It was pain before language, hunger before choice. A wound trying to become whole by swallowing everything around it. Naruto fought beside the Alliance, beside Sakura, beside Kakashi, beside Gaara. Beside every shinobi who had finally realized that survival could no longer be national property, and beside Sasuke. Sasuke arrived like a blade thrown from the dark, older, colder, stronger. Orochimaru had still found him. Not through the original curse mark, because Naruto had rejected it in the forest of death, but through Sasuke's own hunger. Through research, blood experiments, stolen fragments of senjutsu, and a cursed seal imitation made from Orochimaru's memory of touching Naruto and failing. It was unstable, powerful. Sasuke wore it like proof he had chosen pain before pain could choose him. When Naruto saw him on the battlefield, neither boy spoke at first. Sasuke's eyes had changed, Sharingan sharpened by grief. A body modified by choices he would never fully admit he regretted, a sword in his hand. Naruto looked at him and remembered a rooftop hospital conversation with Gaara. "I don't know how to be anything else," Sasuke finally said. "You got taller." Naruto laughed once. "You too," still loud, still annoying, always. For a moment they were 12 again, then the war returned around them. They fought together against the Ten Tails forces with terrifying efficiency. Sasuke cut openings. Naruto protected the gaps. Sakura broke through enemy formations with medical precision turned into force. Kakashi guided them like a man watching broken pieces of his old team form something new and dangerous. But after the 10 Tails was sealed again, not destroyed, never destroyed, because wounds that old could only be contained properly, Sasuke made his final move. Not against Naruto. Against the system. He announced that the villages would never create lasting peace. That cage were symbols of failure wearing hats, that the only way to stop the cycle was for one person to become the target of all hatred forever. It was Pain's idea wearing Sasuke's face. Naruto's heart sank. They met at the Valley of the End. Of course they did. Some places collect unfinished arguments. Sasuke stood on Madara's statue. Naruto stood across from him on Hashirama's. The river below roared like it remembered every fight it had been forced to witness. Sasuke drew his sword. "You know I'm right." Naruto shook his head. "I know you're tired." Sasuke's eyes hardened. "Don't talk down to me. I'm not. You think because you carry some ancient demon's memories you understand everything?" Naruto looked at him. "No. I understand what it looks like when someone turns loneliness into a plan." That struck. Sasuke attacked. The fight was not equal. That was the truth neither of them said aloud. Sasuke was powerful. Brilliant. Faster than almost any shinobi alive. His cursed seal imitation flooded his body with violent natural energy. His Sharingan read motion before motion completed. His lightning cut through stone, water, and air. But Naruto had outgrown the ladder Sasuke was still climbing. He did not humiliate him. That mattered. He did not overpower Sasuke with spectacle. He did not unleash assault mode. He did not let Icar turn the valley into a warning carved across the world. He defended. Sasuke's lightning struck him. Full counter returned it into the river, boiling the surface but missing Sasuke deliberately. Sasuke's sword cut across Naruto's guard. The blade bounced back with enough force to numb Sasuke's arm. Sasuke snarled and pushed harder. Naruto caught the blade with one bare hand. The metal trembled between them. Sasuke stared. Naruto's voice was quiet. "Done." Sasuke's face twisted, rage, grief. Humiliation. Exhaustion. For 1 second, Naruto thought Sasuke would try again. Instead, Sasuke's grip loosened, his sword lowered. He sat down on the wet stone, said nothing. Naruto sat across from him, also said nothing. That was their final battle, not a clash that destroyed statues. Not two boys tearing each other apart to prove love through pain. Just one exhausted person refusing to keep swinging and another exhausted person choosing not to punish him for stopping. After a long while, Sasuke said, "I don't know how to come back." Naruto looked at the river. "Then don't come back all at once." Sasuke laughed bitterly. "That's your answer?" "No, that's where we start." Years passed after the war. The world did not become peaceful quickly. That would have been a childish lie. There were trials, accusations, reparations, border disputes. Missing Nin, who refused to believe the old economy of violence was ending. Elders who tried to preserve power by renaming it tradition. Daimyo, who disliked shinobi unity because war had always been profitable for someone safely far from battle. Naruto did not become Hokage immediately. At first, people assumed he would. After pain, after the war, after standing before the 10 Tails and surviving, the title seemed inevitable. But Naruto had changed. The boy who wanted the village to recognize him had become a man who understood recognition was not the same as responsibility. Kakashi became Hokage. Then later, Sakura took the mantle for a period during Reconstruction when medicine mattered more than mythology. Shikamaru became the architect of impossible treaties. Gaara reshaped Suna into the first village to formally abolish the language of human weapons. Yujito led a coalition of former Jinchuriki and hosts, ensuring no child would ever be sealed without consent again. Sasuke traveled, not as punishment alone, but as witness. He went to places the villages had harmed and listened when people told him why they hated Konoha. Naruto moved between all of them, not Hokage, not commander, not weapon, something harder to define. A promise with feet. And then the Demon King came, not with an army, not with fire, not with the grand violence Naruto had expected from Meliodas' memories. He appeared in the place between life and death on the night Naruto died for the 4th time. The death itself was almost quiet, a border village, a ceiling rupture. Children trapped near a dimensional tier left behind by 10 Tails residue. Naruto held the tier closed long enough for Sakura's evacuation team to pull everyone out. Then the tier folded inward. His body vanished. Naruto woke on the altar. But the black sky was gone. Above him was a vast boundary of cracked light and shadow, like glass holding back an ocean. Meliodas stood at the center of the altar, face pale. Hagoromo stood beside him, and before them both towered the Demon King, not a monster in the simple sense, a presence, a crown of darkness, eyes like sealed worlds, a shape that seemed to be made from every command ever given without love. Naruto stood slowly. So you're him. The Demon King looked down. So you are what remains of my son. Naruto's jaw tightened. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The Demon King smiled. It held no warmth. Yes, that is the problem. Meliodas stepped forward. Do not speak to him as if he belongs to you. The Demon King's gaze shifted. My son still mistakes defiance for freedom. Naruto felt the air thicken. The boundary above them cracked wider. Beyond it, he sensed the demonic plane pressing against the mortal world, not invading yet, waiting. Growing closer every time the resurrection curse dragged Naruto back through death. Hagoromo spoke. The curse was never meant to pass through a translated world this many times. Naruto looked at him. What does that mean? The Demon King answered. It means your refusal to stay dead is wearing down the wall. Naruto went cold. Every resurrection, every return, every miracle that had saved him. A cost had been collecting beyond memory. Meliodas' face told him it was true. Naruto looked at the cracked boundary. If it breaks... The Demon King's smile widened. My world touches yours again. Fully, permanently, demonic energy floods the mortal plane. Chakra destabilizes. Nature energy curdles. Your villages become kindling for a war they are too young to name. Naruto's fists clenched. What do you want? At last. The Demon King said, a practical question. Meliodas' voice was low. Naruto, no. The Demon King extended one massive hand. The remaining curse must be completed, not resisted, not delayed, absorbed. Someone must become the boundary itself. Naruto stared. Hagoromo closed his eyes. Meliodas looked like the words had struck him. Naruto understood slowly, not a guard, not a seal placed on a door, the wall, the living border between the mortal world and the demonic plane. What happens to me? Naruto asked. The Demon King's answer was almost gentle. You continue. That was worse than death. Naruto looked at Meliodas. And him, Meliodas did not answer. The Demon King did. The son's debt ends when the vessel accepts the throne he refused. Meliodas flinched. Naruto understood. This was the final trap, not power, responsibility twisted into inheritance. Become the wall, and Meliodas' ancient failure would finally be sealed. Refuse, and the mortal world would eventually face the consequences of a war it never chose. Naruto laughed once, small, tired, of course. Hagoromo opened his eyes. Naruto, there may be another way. Naruto looked at him. Is there? Silence, honest silence. Naruto appreciated that. Meliodas stepped toward him. This was never supposed to be your debt. Naruto's eyes softened. Yeah, then don't take it. Naruto looked at the cracked sky. He thought of Uruka remembering for him, Sakura's hands keeping people alive, Sasuke sitting down in the rain, Gaara turning pride into dignity, Yujito making sure no child became a cage again, Kakashi watching the next generation with one tired eye and too much love hidden under laziness. Jiraiya's laugh, less clear now but still there if Naruto held it carefully. He thought of every person who had carried a failure and turned it into something useful. Then he looked at Meliodas. You asked for one more life to atone. Meliodas's voice broke slightly. Yes. Naruto smiled sadly. Then let me finish it as me. Meliodas closed his eyes. For the first time, the dragon sin of wrath looked relieved and devastated at the same time. Naruto turned to the Demon King. I'll do it. The Demon King's smile sharpened. But not as your heir. The smile faded. Naruto stepped forward. I'm not taking your throne. I'm not becoming your son. I'm not finishing your war. I'm becoming the wall because my world deserves a door that doesn't answer to you. The altar shook. Hagoromo's staff rings chimed. Meliodas smiled. A real smile this time. Small, tired, proud. The Demon King's eyes darkened, wrathful to the end. Naruto shook his head. No. The dragon sin tattoo spread across his body. Black markings flowed over his arms, chest, neck, and face. Then white gold light filled every line. The altar became sunrise and shadow at once. Full transcendence activated, not as a battlefield form, not as assault mode, not as a roar. As quiet expansion. Naruto felt every resurrection, every lost memory, every borrowed grief, every piece of Meliodas's soul, every seal Hagoromo had ever shaped, every cage that had ever mistaken a child for a container. He took it all, and he chose. The boundary above him sealed, not with chains. With a heartbeat, when Naruto opened his eyes, he was back in the mortal world. Sakura was kneeling over him, hands glowing with medical chakra, tears on her face. Kakashi stood nearby, Sasuke in the shadows, Gaara at the doorway. Uruka pushing through everyone because titles had never stopped him before. Naruto sat up. Everyone froze. His body was covered in dragon sin markings. For 30 seconds, they glowed white gold. Then they receded. When the mark settled back onto his left shoulder, it looked different, softer. No longer like a warning, like something that had finally come to rest. Sakura whispered, Naruto? He smiled. I'm here. Uruka grabbed him first. No one commented on the fact that the man was crying. Some truths deserved privacy even in crowded rooms. After that, Naruto stopped pretending the world could be fixed quietly. He traveled to every cage, every hidden faction, every old power broker still clinging to secret armies and sealed weapons. He told them the truth, not the softened version, not the political version. The truth, that he was Naruto Uzumaki, that he was the reincarnation of Meliodas, the dragon's sin of wrath, that the 9 tails had never existed as they understood it, that the tailed beasts were not tools but translated fragments of an ancient wound, that the old demonic plane still pressed against their reality, and that he had become the wall keeping it out. Then he gave them a choice. Cooperate toward peace, Naruto told the council of remaining warlords, or be the first civilization to test what happens when the dragon sin of wrath decides he has atoned enough and can start breaking things. No one called his bluff, because it was not a bluff, and because they could all feel it. Naruto did not want to rule. That made him more frightening than a conqueror. A conqueror could be negotiated with, flattered, bribed, distracted by territory. Naruto wanted the world to stop producing children like him, Gaara, Yujito, Sasuke, Nagato, and every other person turned into a container for someone else's fear. That goal could not be bribed, so the world changed, slowly, messily, imperfectly. The hidden villages remained, but their purpose shifted. Missions were regulated, child deployment was restricted, sealing ethics became law instead of clan tradition. Jinchuriki became a forbidden category. The tailed beasts, those who wished to live apart, were given territories protected by treaty. Those who wished contact were allowed it by choice. The academy curriculum changed. The first lesson was no longer obedience, it was responsibility. The old shinobi world did not die in one glorious moment. It aged out under pressure, under treaties, under witness, under the knowledge that above all their politics sat a man who had seen one holy war too many and would not permit another to begin for stupid reasons. Naruto never became Hokage. That shocked people for years. Eventually, children grew up thinking it was obvious. The Hokage led Konoha. Naruto belonged to the border between worlds. He was too large for one office and too stubborn for any throne. 50 years after the second founding of Konoha, the reconstruction after pain that later historians marked as the true beginning of the new era, Naruto sat on the Hokage rock. Not on any carved face, above them, on the uncarved stone overlooking the village. Below him, Konoha was alive, loud, messy, imperfect. Children ran through streets without knowing which clans had once hated which. Merchants argued over prices. Shinobi complained about paperwork. Academy students practiced controlled sparring under teachers who watched for fear, not just failure. The village had not become perfect. That was why Naruto still loved it. Perfect things did not need protecting. Beside him, carved into the stone, were 7 symbols, not Hokage faces, not monuments to rulers. The 7 deadly sins of the shinobi world. Wrath was his. Not because he had mastered anger, but because he had learned to make wrath protect instead of consume. Pride belonged to Gaara, whose pride had once been isolation and later became dignity for every unwanted child. Envy belonged to Sasuke, who had envied peace, power, family, and finally turned that hunger into witness for those denied all 3. Sloth belonged to Shikamaru, whose laziness became patience, and whose patience became the architecture of treaties that outlived louder men. Greed belonged to Tsunade, not for money or vice, but for refusing to accept that life should be rationed when medicine could steal more of it back from death. Gluttony belonged to Choji, who taught a generation that appetite could mean love, community, and the refusal to let anyone go hungry in silence. Lust belonged to Jiraiya, carved not as shame, but as transformation desire redirected into stories, students, warnings, and the messy human longing that kept people reaching for each other even after war taught them not to. 7 sins. 7 failures. 7 ways human weakness had been turned into something generative. Naruto ran his fingers over the carving of wrath. His hand looked the same as it had decades ago. That was the strange part. Everyone else had aged. Iruka was gone now, but not forgotten. Naruto remembered his voice because others had remembered with him. Sakura's hair had silver in it. Kakashi moved slower but still arrived late with religious dedication. Sasuke visited rarely and spoke less, but when he sat beside Naruto, the silence no longer hurt. Gaara's face had lines at the corners of his eyes from years of expressions he once thought he would never make. Naruto remained unchanged. Immortality was not a reward, it was a schedule of losses, but he had learned how to carry it. Below, a child pointed up at him. "Mom, is that him?" The mother looked up, smiled, and nodded. "That's Naruto. Not monster, not weapon, not Jinchuriki, not even hero, Naruto." That was enough. The dragon sin tattoo pulsed softly beneath his sleeve. Far beyond the mortal world, the demonic plane pressed against the boundary and found no weakness. Not because the wall was cruel. Not because it hated what waited beyond. Because the wall had chosen love and wrath together, and that made it stronger than either alone. Naruto looked over the village. He did not speak. He did not need to. The caption of his life, if anyone had been brave enough to write it, would have been simple. The dragon's sin of wrath kept his promise. He did not break the world. He just sat on it until it figured out how not to break itself.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope did you enjoy this video. If you do, please make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you are still watching this video, then comment down 5 heads. So yeah,